and welcome to day 2 of the GodisaGeek Game of the Year 2023 deliberations. Back with this wonderful cast of characters. Myself, Adam Cook, Chris Hyde. Hello, Chris.
Back once again with the Renegade Master.
I think I've done that on a pod, so...
I just want to see if anyone else can carry the song on. I reckon Chris White
Default down with ill behaviour.
People damager.
Default damager, power to the people.
Chris White in there. That's Chris White. Mick Fraser's in there too. And Lyle Carr's looking...
Doesn't even know the song because he's so young.
Yeah. Not sure he knows it's music.
I know the song. I know the song.
Yeah, just didn't want to lower yourself, did you?
I am very young.
No, it's not your granddad's acid.
Quite young. I don't feel like you're in the very young category anymore.
No, very young's quite different, really.
Well, it's day 2, so we've got to talk about some more video games after the longest day 1 I can recall in history, anywhere of anything ever. But day 2, I'm sure will just fly by because it's best audio and best visuals. And we're going to start with best audio, which last year was won by anyone?
I don't recall.
No.
I mean, I'm not convinced any of these games came out last year, but it's fine.
You're looking at the wrong doc.
Returnal will get best audio, wouldn't you? That must
No.
have been the year before, though.
God of War
When
Ragnarok.
did it takes to... Oh, yeah, that was the year
Yeah,
before.
that won it.
that
A
won
Plague
everything,
Tale, A Plague Tale Requiem, the Callisto
Yeah.
Protocol 3rd, Xenoblade
Wow.
Chronicles 3, and Overwatch 2. That's how I knew I was on the right list because that did launch last year.
Callisto Protocol.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Remember
great
that?
audio. Had great audio.
No, I know. I just forgot.
Yeah, no, I believe you. But speaking of the Callisto Protocol, let's start off the best audio because the first one on the list, and I'll read the categories, all the games out: Dead Space, Hi-Fi Rush, Chia, Theatre Rhythm Final Bar Line, Octopath Traveler 2, Scars Above, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Figment 2, Creed Valley. Back onto the football scores now. Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon, Metroid Prime Remastered, Lies of P, Final Fantasy 16, Oxenfree 2, Pikmin 4, Remnant 2, Sea of Stars, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Baldur's Gate 3, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Forza Motorsport, Alan Wake 2, Persona 5 Tactica, Charlton Athletic 3.
That joke would have been brilliant had you not gone for
Yeah.
the last one.
Had I
You
not
did so well.
totally messed it up, it would have been quite a good joke.
This is always a strange category, like for me, because it's like because obviously, like audios, there's games that have just fantastic music and not much else going on, and there's games that just have like fantastic voice acting, and then there's others that have the atmospherics. It's not often that you get a game that has all of them, so you always end up having to like compare apples and oranges.
Oh, I don't know. I think that's what this award celebrates. The ones that do usually marry all three.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm talking about. A lot of what goes on the list is kind of like I said, it's apples and oranges.
Yeah, it's like
that's
which
really
is better,
great.
a good
Like
soundtrack.
you don't necessarily want to take a game off when it's got amazing voice acting, but not the best.
Yeah.
Like, do you know what I mean? Yeah. But anyway, we have to.
It's always a tough one.
Got no choice.
There is one on here that, like, I mean, there's a lot of really quality. I mean, listen, every year we make the same joke. They're all good games. They've all got lovely bottoms. Blah 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 blah. There is one though that does stand out a little bit to me, and that's Theatre Rhythm Final Bar Line because
It's got great music,
it has got great music.
but it's
but
like why rock
traditionally-
band can't win it.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
we've always traditionally sort of gone because the thing is, I would say yes, got great music. I love the Final Fantasy VII soundtrack on it. Chris Hyde would say, yeah, I love the.
Secret of Mana,
Do you see what I mean?
Mana Volume 2 DLC, get it in you.
I'm not sure that's how music works, but these days I
In your
suppose
Yeah.
there could be things that you
Surely
pop up your
FM
bottom
coming in your
for.
ears.
Yeah, but like
It is a tough one because realistically, if I was picking off this list my favourite audio, it probably would be it because
Right.
it's just.
Yeah, but
got
is that
lots
just
of
because
sounds
it's
I
got
really,
some
really
good
like.
songs?
well,
Like,
yeah,
and I know
that's
that
what we're
sounds obvious.
that's what we're
Yeah,
saying
yeah.
though. That's
Yeah.
why it
That's
stands out as
literally
to
the
me.
game.
Yeah,
Yeah.
without that,
Yeah.
there's no game really. is there?
I think I love the game and I've played it a lot. I do think it's a bit of a cheat.
It is a bit of a cheat.
That's kind of more what I'm getting at. Like it's with
like,
Rock Band. You could
I said,
download.
it's like Rock Band winning it because the Beatles songs are on it.
Well,
Do you
yeah,
know what
like
I mean?
the Beatles Rock Band is the best. Yeah, it just doesn't. It's not that we're saying that's not the case. It's just it just feels a bit.
Yeah.
It does a very
cheaty.
good job. It's very faithful
Yeah,
representation.
And it does have some interesting like arrangements
Yeah.
that I don't think are available elsewhere as well. But again, that's not the majority of the soundtrack. But
it is.
there's not really a place that this game's going to fit in.
No, it
anywhere
isn't.
other than
Many other
audio
places.
to
But I will
mention.
say it's weird because like when I was a kid and a mate of mine and I were like mad into the Final Fantasy games, like he would import like the soundtracks and stuff from Japan. You remember importing things? Do you remember that being a thing? He used to import them, and I was so jealous because he had this. Not jealous, but I was envious. I mean, they're both bad emotions, but that's not the point. I was really pleased for him that he had this multi-disc set because what they did is they did like it's a really common thing now. I want to say The Last of Us did it. I think there's 2 shows next year where they do like an orchestral arrangement gig. You can go to a gig and watch video game music be performed.
Baldur's Gate are doing it next
Baldur's
year.
Gate, and I think is it The Last of Us 2? I think has got one.
Yeah,
There was a
Yeah.
Last of Us, but I think.
But back then it was like just. I mean, you're talking PlayStation 1 era. It wasn't a thing, and like the Final Fantasy 7 soundtrack got that treatment because it's at the time it was Square and it was massive, and it was like proper instrumentation, and it was like what you were listening to all intents and purpose was the future of video game music. So it is kind of weird that there's some of that sort of stuff on here, and I do love it, but I can't even sit here and say I definitely played every track on this game. I like
There is a fucking lot.
there is a
them.
lot, but
Yeah,
it's like
to
I
be
went
clear, there's
straight
loads.
to anything. Just I think you have to unlock Final Fantasy 7. I think I can't remember which one it is. You have to unlock one of them by playing a bit.
There are certain ones.
There are certain
that,
ones
like,
you have to
start
complete
locked
almost
and-
like a
yeah.
run a certain number of times to unlock. But like,
Yeah.
I mean, I think it's got to go. I love this game. I think it's got to go because it's a bit of a cheat.
Yeah.
But if you love Final Fantasy, bloody play it. It's brilliant.
Well,
Like,
if you love Square Enix RPGs,
yeah, because there is, like I said,
Right.
secret amount of DLC is on there. Like there's loads of stuff you can, and
Yeah.
they will keep going because it's not a small catalog to choose from. They will keep going. And
I
adding.
will say, I mean, this is not the category we're talking about best audio, but I will say I don't think I ever quite fully understood the scoring system in that game, but and how you can use certain spells that do certain things. Like I don't think I ever really got to grips with any of it, but I did love it anyway. So, but for now,
I just went. You can choose which
Yes.
things you think are going to be the best because I don't care.
Yeah.
I'll just
100%.
tap the buttons and
Yeah,
yeah.
I'll
But
just-
yeah,
yeah,
it's,
I'll
it's,
just
it's,
be-
it seems weird to be lauding something and deleting it, but at the same time, I think we all agree it's kind of a cheat code. So
It's
Yeah.
basically all we do on these podcasts.
Yeah, this is great. Get it fucked.
yeah, we talk about this like this is some massive celebration of games, but really what it is like a 15-hour-long shit fest of us complaining about why things
Cool.
don't.
Yeah.
Yes. So that's gone.
You can
know.
get rid of because I put it on there, which
Yeah.
is Lies of P. Because again, I only put it
Okay.
on there because it's a Souls-like. So I mean, the soundtrack, the sound design.
Please, Mick,
is,
it's a Masocore game.
I will not use that term, but it so obviously it is very atmospheric. It has got a lot going on for it. I think the voice acting's pretty good. But I mainly put it on there for the soundtrack because it was one of the rare games that I would just find myself listening to tracks from. Because if you've played it, you know that you can collect the records, and then when you play them on the gramophone in Hotel Crut, it changes P's. Well, he's not called
Humanity.
Peasy, but it changes his humanity. It gets more humanity listening to music, which I think is a nice touch anyway. But some of the tracks on it are they're just stunning.
I think they've released the soundtrack now, or are planning to, or have already. But they were.
I think it's on Spotify.
Yeah,
I'm sure
I
found
know
a
they were
couple
going
of them
to.
on
I can't remember if
Spotify.
they have or not. So that's.
But it can go because it's not going to win. But it is a fantastic soundtrack.
Okay.
If you like, especially if you like sort of classical music.
Persona 5 Tactica.
Yeah.
I'm just trying to remember.
Yeah, are we?
On to the next one.
No, I mean, did I add this or did you add this? Because
I think I added it, yeah.
I'm
We need more than Lyle. Just to be clear.
Yeah,
no,
it's-
it's worth
it's-
mentioning. I just don't. I also can't. You'll have to remind me, and I've played it, so
Recently just got a really good soundtrack and some good voice acting. It's not all voice acted, and I mean it's not much different to any other Persona 5 related game where there are, a few similar tracks that you'll remember. and
I'd
a
argue
few that are
5
new one.
Persona 5 has a better soundtrack. If we're talking, I think Persona 5's when you win a battle, and the battle success music, I think is possibly the greatest
Really
bit of music in any video game ever. Because my God, you just want to listen to it, just grooving around the room. But yeah, I mean, the trouble is with this one is the longer you spend a battle.
By the way,
Yeah, it's a great dance. It's just. But the trouble with Persona 5 Tactica's music is what for me slightly is that I know you can do battles really quickly, but if you don't, that woman sings like that certain verses or choruses like 15 times. games. And I was like, at
Yeah.
one point, I was like, this must have other music in this game, but it was early on. So.
Yeah. Okay. No, that makes sense. And I mean, it's another one that I added in terms of like, yeah, it's got a really fucking good soundtrack. So we'll flip it on the list. And nothing about the audio of that game is bad, but I don't think anyone else is going to champion it necessarily. And it's maybe not quite as landmark as some of the like mainline Persona games that maybe would make a list like this.
Yeah, I think if they'd gone a bit more, like I know it doesn't do the old fashioned JRPG thing of just but it does sort of do that as well as give you voiced stuff.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's sort of half and half, isn't
hybrid.
it? Where like sometimes it's fully voice acted, sometimes you get the little clips.
Chris White, you've been awfully quiet.
I know. I'm just picking. I'm like the assassin that comes in and just bides his time. Because I don't want. There's some games on this list that I really don't want to say goodbye to. So let's try and whittle it down a little bit.
Yeah.
Try and get rid of the others.
So there's two games that I reviewed, but I didn't put on this list, and I'm curious to
Okay.
know why they're on it. I can remember. I can
God,
kind of remember Scars Above.
Have I
I
just
don't know
added
what that is,
games
so I
for
was gonna
game's
ask.
sake? Because
I think
start
Scars
these
Above
lists
is it's quite an atmospheric game, isn't it? I didn't play it, but I did watch
Oh.
our review of it, and no, but I'm saying
No,
like
this is
that,
funny.
like I've seen it.
yeah,
Yeah. Okay, I didn't play Scars Above. I never got
I
around to it,
suspect
but-
I added this at the beginning of the doc's existence, where we hadn't quite yet had
Enough releases.
the
to
games, and
justify.
I'm guessing the other game you're going to mention is Chia.
Yeah.
Yeah, I thought so. I don't recall why that's on this list.
Oh.
I think.
Do you know what? Just before we cut it,
Well, no, I think it's.
Kia does have some good, like one of its best ideas is the whole ukulele sections, where it kind
the
of
music's great. Yeah.
where you do the whole Last of Us, play the
Yeah.
ukulele by using the right analog stick. Those are quite nice moments, but in terms of the rest, I can't remember it that well.
Do you know why I think I've added it? Because I'm pretty sure I remember where you can turn into a bird and shit on people.
Oh yeah,
That's the one thing I remember about the game.
Well, the thing is I've got a vague memory of basically flying along and just the sound effect would have been something like
Is it
this.
the plop sound?
Well, no, it's a bit about so this is my attempt at some Foley work for our listeners. It would have been like.
That is good.
That
Worthy of.
Feels like a
You're in the
lot.
wrong
you know,
job.
Yeah. But I'm pretty sure that's why. Just like a. And also like, yeah, no, I can't. The trouble with those music sections is I found them quite boring to play. But that's not what this category is. To be fair, we're not,
yeah.
But you're kind of right. Is that I can't really remember an awful lot about that game other than turning into a bird and plopping on people. Which is a terrible thing to say about a game that's quite emotionally invested and
It's
moving.
good. It's good. It's a good.
But it's
a good
quite a
game.
good summary for this group of people.
So is
Yeah.
it gone, Chris White?
Yeah.
And what about Scars Above?
Yeah, it was kind of light version of Remnant because it had its moments. It was
Got there already.
He's mentioned it.
well, yeah, it's not quite on that. Well, it's nowhere near on that level, and it's a lot. Only like well, I don't think it was more than 6 hours.
It's quite a short game, yeah.
Yeah, but it did have its moments, and the audio was decent.
But you
in
mentioned
terms-
Remnant too, and I was going to ask the question.
Can I just say, I actually got
Yes.
it wrong. I meant to say Returnal.
No, but it's fine. We've got where we
Because it's
needed to
nothing
be.
like Remnant.
We got where it needed to be. I think Remnant 2 is going to surprise nobody. Is a very good game, despite having never heard of the series before and it being entirely new to everybody.
I don't know why it's called Remnant 2.
It's
Did
so
you know
strange.
you can play the original on Xbox now? So you know
Well,
you
they
haven't played
I
it.
didn't know there was an
It
original.
must be
mate.
some sort of like tech demo or something because there's definitely not been a game before Remnant 2.
Anyway, point being, I think Remnant 2 is worthy in a lot of categories. I'm not
Remnant
sure
2
this one's its category.
I'll tell you what this does. I'll tell you what Remnant 2... Did I put it on there? I don't remember. I don't think
Let's
I did.
not keep doing this because it's always
Yeah,
going to end up with I did it and I have no
That's why the
memory of it.
podcast's 3 hours long.
But
Because
there's one reason that I would have even
Yeah, I've got
considered
one thing
putting
to
it on
say.
there, And that's that little musical sting when you walk through Loathsome every now and then that sounds like something from like Sherlock Holmes.
Yeah.
Or, you know what I mean? That little bit of music.
And there's a little bleep thing as well. Then I'm like, what's that? It annoys me every time. The one thing I would say about the audio here, the thing I always remember about Remnant 2 is when it's when like what are they? The mini boss things turn up.
Yeah,
It's
This
like,
is entirely.
you're like,
Yeah,
holy
that too,
fuck!
yeah,
Like
that
that is.
noise.
I mean, it's one bit of audio, but it's the one bit I always remember from Remnant 2 in terms of.
See, that would be
audio.
the same bit for me.
It's like.
Yeah, like what
It's not
Chainsaw
enough
Guy
to lock
appears.
it. It's a very effective thing.
I also
It
think
does
the
little bits, like when you walk into like Loathsome, when you do Morrow Parish and you walk past the asylum for the first time, and that guy just screams, and it does that little musical bar.
Yeah.
See, but I
And
think
it's
like-
every
and like you
time
walk
it
and
makes
like-
me smile. But
Yeah.
On the
I'm
flip
not saying
side-
it belongs on this list.
The
I'm
asylum
not, you
does
know,
have a
it's-
lot of good.
it does,
audio
but
in
on
it
the flip
actually
side, I
shot.
think there is some
They're stronger
dodgy
games on
voice
here.
acting on this game.
Yeah,
Especially
I mean,
in
voice acting
Lost Zone.
isn't great. And I do think, you know, a lot of when you walk around Lossum, it's just people sort of go, get him, get it, yeah. And it's just a little bit after a while, it's like, fucking shut up.
I think
They could have done with a few more lines of dialogue in certain
Yeah, that's the thing.
cases.
For the amount that you hear it
Mm.
and come across it
Yes.
versus the amount that's recorded.
And it's a game you are designed by nature to replay, then go up a difficulty, replay.
Yeah.
And like, listen, I don't think that at any point during that game did they think, well, we need to really make sure we win best audio categories. Or
No.
do you know what I mean?
No.
It does everything else. Like, it looks great. It plays amazingly. Like, it's we've all year since it's before it came out and the DLC and the days to come have lauded this game for being brilliant. But like, I just.
Yeah,
When you
no, I
look
agree. I
at-
don't think it
compared to
belongs
some of
on
the
this
other
particular
games,
list. Yeah.
compared to some of the rest of this list, it's nowhere near.
There's a few on there that are very,
So
very
we cut that. Pikmin 4, I was thinking probably should be cut because it's a lovely game. But again, I think with the sort of category we're in, there's some nice music. It's kind of got the usual Pikmin stuff. You know, the little
Yeah.
the kind of,
Which is lovely.
of course,
It's lovely.
of course.
But like, I guess, does it do any more than very good? Like, I know that sounds really pointless, but you know what I mean? It's like, it's Pikmin. I don't want to sound reductive, but like,
No,
does the
and I
audio
think
do
Pikmin
more
4 is
than a Pikmin
fantastic.
game?
But
Yeah.
I don't think I can. There are games on this list I can pull music from, or just some dialogue work, or something audio. This is not one of those games.
Yeah, you can kind of articulate memories and moments, and
This is just very good. Like there's nothing. It's kind of it's Nintendo Switch era Nintendo in that there's nothing really to dislike about any of it, but that doesn't mean that every element of it stands out in this particular. So I would cut that if no one's any.
No.
Okay.
Fine.
Can I ask a question? Let's go tasty, right?
Okay.
Marvel Spider-Man 2.
I was going to suggest that as well. I was going to ask.
Christopher.
I maybe I played it quite recently.
I think everyone has really. Apart
Yeah.
from
Well, yeah,
Chris and I,
obviously.
maybe a little.
Can't
I
really
wasn't
not.
playing it in January. Okay, yeah, the fair challenge back. But I guess, well, talk to me about why it should be considered.
Because I
for
was
top
trying to
five.
think of what it did special in the audio department.
Yeah,
like it's
that's
good. And
Voice acting was.
there's a lot of action,
was
and the
all
voice
right.
acting is great all the way through. Really,
Do you know
Yeah.
what I will
it's
say
very
is I
quicky
think
again though. It's very after a while you play it for, like I've been playing it in long stints to get to sort of cram it a little bit, and so like after a while you just kind of want Peter Parker to shut the fuck up for 5 minutes and let me swing around a bit.
I'm just looking something up because I'm playing a game at the moment.
I'm
Go
not
on,
going to
sorry,
fight.
Chris.
I was going to say I'm not going to fight for it because it won't be in my top 5. But it does one thing really well, and that's if you. I know you don't spend any time on the street because why would you? You're fucking Spider-Man. You can swing through the air, do whatever you want. But there's like I didn't even notice at the time because I never really spent any time on the ground. But there's like a load of clips were released once everyone was playing it, and they were just stood next to like 2 people chatting in the street, and they're having like 5 to 10 minute long conversations about like just random shit, but fully coherent conversations that someone has written into this game that a lot of people are never going to see. And that was cool. Like, yeah, it is. The soundtrack, the score is a good score, but
Yeah.
It's quite. It's not generic because I don't want to because it's amazing, but it doesn't stand out for
It
its
doesn't
audio.
stand out. I think that's the thing. I was like, what? I can't recall what stood out. The voice acting's all right. The score is all right.
The
sound
only thing I'd
effects
say, I don't. I think it feels like one of those that might be a mistake to cut now. I'm not saying it doesn't, but like there's a lot we haven't talked about here. That I don't know. I mean, if no one's going to save it, I'm not going to sit and fight for it. But
we can. I've got a question about one I can ask, which is, what's Figment 2 Creed Valley?
It's the game I've had installed the longest and still haven't fucking played yet.
So am I the only one that's played that?
Afraid so, mate. And I'm the bloody one who was like, we must cover this game because the first one was so good, and I haven't played it. It's so musical, the first one. I can only apologise to you, Chris. Really.
No, it is a good game. Like it's a very good game.
Has it got the songs in like the first one? Like
yeah, the songs. But like because there's been so many games this year, I'm like trying to remember it. Because I'm older, getting older. My memory's not as good as it was. I can't remember it, and I feel like if a game's going to be in this category and it's going to be in the top 5, surely it has something memorable. Yeah. And there's plenty of other memories from the other games that I'm like, oh my god, yeah, that was fantastic. So I don't think it's going to stay. So I'm happy to. It's already gone.
No, I'm getting ahead of it because I can read your. I know what Chris is going to say. I know him well. You see.
No, Well, no, it is a fantastic game.
Yeah, I'm really.
People should play it at some point.
I'm annoyed
when they
I
got
haven't.
time, which is never. But yeah.
Right, I'm ready to cut a couple. I'm going for 2. I'm going to go for 2 right in the throat. Okay. What does Metroid Prime Remastered do that Metroid Prime didn't do? Because Metroid Prime has like a top fucking tier soundtrack. Don't get me wrong. Yeah. It is amazing. The audio in that game is amazing. What does this remaster do to that audio that means it should be in a top 5 in 2023?
So remasters it, innit?
So they have redone the audio. I can't.
It's now 192 kbits per second, where it was 96.
I genuinely thought you were coming in with as Mr. Music as some.
Oh no,
I
think I
thing there.
I was going to make a joke about. Do you remember that MP3 player everyone had on their PCs back in the day? I can't remember what it was, but I got halfway through the joke and I couldn't remember what it was called. That little software that had like visualizers and stuff on it. You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah, I just can't remember. I'm trying to think of the name.
I remember it, but I don't remember what it was.
And that was why it's not funny when you've got to explain it this much.
And also, like, Lyle's too young to get the joke, so.
No, I
know the thing. I said I knew.
This is
Winamp.
Like, I love the soundtrack to this. I listen to this. Like, what's he saying now? We're going back
shouting out the fucking. You know about Real Player, are you?
No, I think it was Winamp.
Winamp.
Winamp. No, it was Winamp.
Yeah.
If we're thinking the same thing, yeah. So, I love this soundtrack. Whether it should technically win something in 2023 or 2003, so I know that they've redone the audio, but I'm not an expert on exactly how much they've done to it technically, but I know it was redone. It
will be things like when it was originally shipped on a GameCube disc or even a Wii disc, you could literally only hold so much. So then you had to. That's why things like, for example, that's why nowadays games have 4K cutscenes. It's because they have the space available to them.
To do it. Yeah,
and audio was often. You had to compress the shit out of videos because we were in an area where you didn't have the codecs to compress them and have them look good. We were in an area where an era is not a word. An era where audio was compressed as well, and it will just be that. It will be like a crystal clear rendering of that original audio. I don't think they would have done anything other than it would be very, it would be good on the ears. It wouldn't be compressed and tinny. It would be. It's probably surround if it wasn't before. It's my only feeling about this is it feels a bit disingenuous.
And it's not like you sit there.
You don't.
And it feels dramatically different in the sense of it's completely redone from the ground up. It's the essence of the song, but it's different and it's modern. Like it doesn't feel like that. It feels like you say, like an uncompressed GameCube one in the nicest way. It sounds lovely. I love this. I love this soundtrack. I don't think it's going to make it because I think that there's better things on here in terms of new and different. and exciting, memorable things. Whereas I'm still thinking about that from 2003 or whenever it was.
It basically just feels like the same as what we did to theatre rhythm. Theatre rhythm.
I think there is definitely similarities. I think there's a difference with a music game, but yes, I do agree with you that it is a little bit like that. Like it's just the same stuff we've heard before, but spruced up. So yeah, no, I agree with cutting that. I wasn't going to fight for that to be top 5.
Okay.
I love the soundtrack though. It's fucking
Let's see if I'm 2 for 2, shall we?
Yeah.
All right. It's time for the first time on day 2 for one of us to be reductive. And that's me. And I'm going to say, is Forza Motorsport just cars? Just car noises?
It's usually like car noises and then licensed music, right?
Yeah.
Isn't that that's basically
That's
usually
what
it
happens.
is.
No, but that's it, isn't it? Like that's what.
No, he's saying usually it is, but I have lots to say on the matter.
No, I was just agreeing with him. Sorry.
Oh, I thought you were going
I was just saying usually it is. He's correct. Normally,
Oh right, so it's not this time.
I don't.
What are you saying, Adam?
I'm trying
Speaking with your eyes, man. Speak with your lips.
Yes.
I'm trying to say, Chris Wide needs to help me out here because I don't think this game's got music when you're playing it. I know you can play your own Spotify soundtrack, but I'm pretty sure there's no music when you're just racing.
No generic rock, pop, or
It's not Forza Horizon. There's no radio stations to play. I don't think
you're relying on the atmosphere being created by the authentic sound of the
which it does, by the way.
Cut the crap out of that.
No, it does.
Yeah,
it does.
And that, even though that's probably the best example of it ever, maybe, but it is just car.
It's not the best example of it ever.
Just car.
No, look.
But it is just.
The reason it's on this list, I think, if I put it on there, I think I did because there is something quite impressive about. Like, I do think. Listen, we're all guilty of it when we're on, not so much in reviews, but in podcasts. Everyone's guilty of being that little bit reductive about a game or a genre, and I do think that racing games, especially sim racing games, get the worst treatment in that respect. When people, and I've done it, I think I did it this year on the podcast I mentioned about with visuals. It's like, well, and it's true. It's been for a long time now. If you want to show off your new shiny next gen console, you show a racer because they look great. And it's similar with audio, but I don't think the audio ever gets credit, ever really. And like just small little things, like if you change. So the thing I noticed that with playing this one is if it's raining, if you change camera angle, the rain audio changes. So if you're in the car. If you drive a car, which like Mick, I know you do, you'll hear the rain a certain way. When you switch to, say, the bonnet cam, where it's outside the car, the volume of the rain hitting the bonnet intensifies. And I don't think it stays on the list, and it certainly doesn't win it. But I just wanted to give a shout out because I think that sort of stuff goes really unnoticed in the industry, let alone in the genre. And I know that people who are like big gearheads or massive sim racers will notice stuff like that. But I just think it's the sort of thing, it is the genre that gets the most sort of reductive treatment in that way. And I think the audio, that is unnecessary. Like it is actually, I would say it is unnecessary to go to that degree of like I noticed it because it's one of those things you notice because it's unnecessary, and you go, that's pretty cool. And there's some sort of similar touches when it comes to the visual element in that game. I just wanted to call it out really because I think it is like I say, they could not have done that, and nobody would be going, well, I changed from the in-car cockpit view to the bumper, and the rain was exactly the same audio. Where do I want my Game Pass subscription money back? No one's doing that. It's not noticed, but the fact you notice someone has done that, has gone to that level of detail, I think is cool.
Yeah, it's easily one of the best, probably the best racer of the year, and I'll stand by that. And the audio is where it shines, but I think it's probably best to cut it.
Yep. Okay, that's fine.
I got a question
go now
about...
for the same reason.
What's that?
Does Spider-Man 2 go now for the same reason? That it does nice things, like you just said. Like there's detail there that Chris was talking about before.
I'll say it's not in my top 5. You guys tell me if it's in yours. I guess
it wouldn't be in my top 5.
Sounds like a Manic Street Preachers album. I'm on it. This
Love
is my
the game,
top 5.
but
Tell me yours. Thanks, Chris. I knew you'd know that. No, it doesn't matter. You it's fine. It's gone. The moment's gone now.
I don't know what you're saying half the time.
No, I get that a lot.
So
Spider. Okay, fine.
It's not in mine either.
I think it can go.
Do you only listen to Chris White? Is that what this is? He says cut and he fucking goes. I say cut it.
It's because I got the Mannix reference.
He got the Mannix reference.
Oh, I don't give a shit about the Mannix. They're dog shit.
Are you?
I got a question about one.
Not
right?
the time, Chris.
No.
Wait,
Ever the time.
we'll talk about him later. What's next?
I got a question, and I'll
Okay.
get dogpiled for it. But
Oh,
is Sea of Stars not on there just because it's got a nice soundtrack? Like it's got good music and then lots of boingy boingy JRPG sound effects.
It's got some.
There's not a
great
lot of.
sound
There's no
effects.
talking. There's no. I mean, the music might be good, but honestly, sell me on it somehow because I don't see what you guys see with this game in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
Anyway, and I do not see why it's on a list of best audio if it's just the music. Well, if it is the music, that's fine, and maybe it should be on there somewhere. But I don't think if it's just the music.
You got a sign.
Because I don't care.
and if you want to watch that video, if you want to see that sign, you're going to have to watch the video version on
Yeah, the audio won't work.
GodisaGeek. It won't work.
Yeah, you
What
can
more
imagine
should
what it
like?
says.
What should it do?
Well,
should
we
it do?
just said earlier that a game should. We were talking about games that did everything, like soundtrack and atmosphere and dialogue and voice acting. We did say that earlier. We cut Spider-Man and Forza because they did one thing really well and some nice
I
things.
thought
I'm
they were
asking
cut
you to
because
say-
they weren't memorable. Like, I feel like Spider-Man was
Yeah,
cut because it does
that's what-
everything
yeah,
else.
sorry,
I
that's
don't
why-
think
like-
Sea of Stars is memorable.
Oh, the
in
Battle
audio
Success
department.
music is incredibly. I can hear that Battle Success music now, right
But
now.
okay, well,
Leveling up
well,
music.
this is going to be one of those that I just don't agree on. I don't see the fuss about this game.
I think it's
especially
got.
in the audio
I think it's got one of the
department.
best soundtracks of the year, which is not this category. I will
But if-
confess.
That kind
Yeah.
of soundtrack, yeah, I don't, so I'm
Which
not going
we
to agree. And-
three of us
but
at
it's-
least do.
Well, that's fine, but I'm asking.
You sure? It doesn't sound
why
very
should it
fine.
be on there? Is it just? Well, I don't think
It's got a brilliant
great.
soundtrack which is memorable. The sound effects are also memorable, and they all
They're
done
boy-
really well.
JRPG sound effects constantly.
The sound effects
Does
when
it
you use
constantly.
the teleporting attacks as the special attack that does teleports, it makes the best portal noises that you could ever imagine. It's amazing. There are some sound effects in
I
Sea of
just think
Stars
I
that really
can't.
love,
this,
but then alongside that,
this game's not going to get a fair trial anyway. But I just don't. I don't know why it's on a
From
list
who?
of best audio with
Yeah,
those.
the irony
particular-
of that sentence coming out of your lips. is
I will
brilliant.
say, I don't know. I mean, it doesn't win it for me, but I don't know if it's the top 5 yet. But I certainly don't think it's a cut just yet.
It's
just
not
given
a
the
cut compared to
veteran.
some of
That's
these
where I am
others
too,
for
yeah.
me at all.
What is a well? Let's hold it for
Hi-Fi
now.
Rush.
Okay, well, I was wondering about this one.
Hi-Fi
Yeah, I was
Rush
gonna
is
ask.
probably a cut. And I know
Yeah,
it's a game based on its audio.
really
It's like
But
theatre
it's-
rhythm
but it's-
line
yeah,
thingy
it-
again,
and-
isn't it? It
and
is
their songs.
built on.
Yeah. And a lot of the songs are pre-existing songs from artists that exist.
Oh, I forgot
Um,
about that. Wow, yeah,
Because there was the one from the Smashing
Yeah,
Pumpkins, Billy Corgan's.
yeah, totally
what was it-
forgot about that.
What were they
Swan.
called?
Swan,
Yeah.
wasn't it? Yeah.
Yeah. And
Oh shit, I forgot all about that.
but like, I can't remember any music.
I can remember some of the,
the
voice acting.
is just
It's fine.
it's fine.
I think it's another one of those games though that just kind of quips at you all the time. And it's funny at times. I do remember finding it quite amusing, but I think
I
the
find it
voice
quite
acting
amusing that
wasn't
the
great.
man I know who loves Marvel as much as anyone is complaining about quips.
Because I'm kind of tired of quips. Like I'm tired of Marvel. It's all become sort of the same. It's the same
Don't quit
jokes,
me.
It's the same humour all the time. And I just think that Hi-Fi Rush was guilty of it. Like Chris says, I don't think the voice acting was that memorable. I don't really remember the characters much. All I remember was, and the gameplay was solid
Yeah.
for a time, which we spoke about, didn't we? Last on the last day. But yeah, I think I agree with Chris on that one.
Well, I mean, if we're going to cut it, we're going to cut it, I guess. Fine.
Because I'm still looking at
No,
some
no,
really
it's fine.
strong stuff on it. Do you know what I mean? Like in that.
So I'm one of, I think I'm the only person that hasn't played this.
Okay.
Oxenfree 2. I'm not
haven't
I'm not
either,
suggesting
so I
to
was gonna
cut
say the
it.
same.
I
Just
would cut it.
asking-
I'd cut it.
I would
I-
cut it. I would champion the voice acting.
Yeah, the voice
Straight
acting for
away.
me is the bit that puts it in this category. I think.
Well,
to be honest.
Riley and I can't even remember.
Jacob?
The fellas. Jacob.
Yeah.
yeah, their interaction.
Them in particular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you know why I'd
the
cut
woman
it?
who played Riley was amazing.
Do
Yeah.
But
The reason I cut it is I don't think they did it quite as well as the first game.
No, you're right.
There's they still do the interruption stuff. For those who don't know, like you can it actually tries to replicate a real world like you listen to us, like we interrupt each other and it's natural flow of conversation. That's how real people speak to each other in real life. You know, you butt in, people don't butt. That's the ebb and flow of true conversation. Oxenfree 2, like its predecessor, does that really, really well. But what I found is and I don't know if this is only me because I think I was the only one on PlayStation. I think you were both on PC.
Yeah, I did it on PC. And
So
Steam,
I don't know if it was a console version thing, but I would find sometimes when you transition from like walking off of a screen onto the next one, the conversation sometimes would restart and not pick up correctly. And I found that some of the interruption stuff didn't quite work as it did in the first. There was a few things about that game where I felt like it actually just needed a touch longer in the oven in terms of some sort of bugs and stuff like that. And I felt like the audio was the thing from the first game that was like, this is like I know people perhaps didn't care for it as much as others, but like it was such a cool thing that I really haven't seen done. I've seen games start to do it. Spider-Man 2 starts to do it. Like you can be swinging around on the radio to someone and you can interrupt yourself with the but it's not quite.
Oxenfree 2 does it a lot better than Spider-Man.
Yes, no, it does. I'm just saying I've seen
you could be 7/8 through the conversation, they fucking start it again. Whereas at least in Oxenfree, it's...
God of War Ragnarok did it quite well. Like you could get off of the boat and start a fight, get back on, and they would literally go, "Oh, we were talking about the thing. Should we pick that?"
Yeah,
back
what
up
were you
again,
saying?
lads?
And it picked up right away.
So it has
that.
You know, it's not a thing that's not done anywhere else, but I do think Oxenfree 2 doesn't quite do it as well as the first one. Like the actual game, I think, is probably a better game overall, but audio-wise, I'm not convinced.
I do agree that's a cut, I think.
Yeah, I agree that the voice acting is really good.
Yeah,
you know, Oxenfree. I feel like Oxenfree is one of those series by now that should have its own little musical thing. You know, like when you've got a black screen and that little bit of Uncharted music plays, or you get that little musical sting and you go, "Oh," and everyone gets it. I feel like Oxenfree should have that.
Yeah, like a little.
Do you know what I mean? Like, because it is quite a unique thing. There's nothing else that's like that game, and I think it does do some wonderful things with its audio and its dialogue and stuff that other games haven't even really tried to ape.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, I agree that's a cut. Yeah.
We're down to 9 games now.
Do we want to recap?
Yeah. Can you do a recap, Chris, just for me, please?
Yeah. So the games we've got left are Dead Space, Octopath Traveler 2, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Bayonetta Origins, The Razor and the Lost Demon, Final Fantasy 16, Sea of Stars, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Baldur's Gate 3, and Alan Wake 2.
Thank you. And those watching the video version will understand why that was done for me. God, blimey.
We need to talk about.
This is some good stuff now.
And I would like to talk about, and this is one game that I championed a lot in a previous day, and there's 2 of them that I'm doing that are kind of similar, and I'm going to ask about Resident Evil 4 Remake and Dead Space and do that same sort of Metroid thing, which I think both these games probably do a lot more than the Metroid Remaster in terms of updating audio, but they're again 2 games where I'm like, are they definitely going to make it for that?
So I'd argue...
Like to see where people stand.
I'd argue about Resident Evil 4 Remake, right? Because that's a game. I don't play horror, like I keep saying, and I hadn't played Resident Evil 4 originally, which is a cardinal sin, I know, but I've played the remake, and like that game does things with audio. Like when you play that with a good set of headphones, and I know a lot of games can do it, but that game does things with audio that the atmosphere is just palpable. Like
I'd argue Dead Space's atmosphere is better.
I haven't played Dead Space, so I won't argue what's better.
And it's difficult, isn't it? Because I imagine Dead Space is a tenser affair, whereas Resident Evil 4 is camp as you like.
I would argue
even
Resident Evil 4 is a cut. Yeah, I think Resident Evil 4 is a cut, and I can explain why.
I will say the fact that they changed Ashley so she's not screaming Leon every 5 seconds is a massive audio improvement.
The reason... I even like the new merchant.
Yeah. I kind of miss the old merchant.
I miss the what are you buying thing.
I was surprised that Resident Evil 4 Remake, the reason I cut it is simply because I think it is the quintessential example, certainly on this list, of a game that is a 10 out of 10 game and is the sum of its parts. it is brilliant because everything is brilliant. But at the same time, when you then split it down into its individual categories, you start to go, yeah, but then it sort of that works in tandem with that. You know, it is very much everything comes together to make this incredible game. It just, I mean, I don't even know if Dead Space makes the 5, but there are some things need to be said about that game's audio. Like, whereas Resident Evil 4 Remake, I'm comfortable going, it's fine, there's 9 games on this list and we need it to be 5. So I'm comfortable cutting Resi 4 Remake, but it's up to you guys.
What else I want to keep? I want to keep that.
I'm happy for it to be cut.
Yeah.
But I'm not going to... Dead Space audio...
That ship's alive, man. That is crazy audio. I couldn't play it with headphones for long. It's like one of those ones that's like, I have to take this off and just have the audio coming from the telly for a bit because this is too much. This is too much. Like, especially with the PS5. I can't remember what it's called. They're doing the new one, the Elite version, the headphone. You know, the 3D Pulse, whatever it's called.
Yeah, Pulse. Yeah.
And with that set up properly, and it's one of the closest audios I've experienced that is like, it almost tricks you into thinking you're in VR. Returnal does it as well because it does vertical audio in that headset. And Returnal does do it better. Returnal is like unbelievable audio, that game. I like how they
I'm pretty sure that won best audio.
I mean, how they make it, like the fact that it sounds like audio, there's water, but it's not just behind you, slightly above you and behind you. Like that is fucking wizardry. And Dead Space doesn't quite get there. But the ship, the creaking, Chris, you played the whole thing, but like the creaking of that ship.
And it's that blended in with the, did I just hear a creature or didn't I? Is it the ship or should I shit myself because I'm about to? And I think with the fact that we've talked about in day one how the enemies are never guaranteed anywhere, you never know where they are. That also throws into the tension and the anxiety you feel when playing it, and obviously some people don't want that, and I get that. I think what it does right, like it's a survival horror game, and it does it so perfectly when it comes to the audio.
But it sounds like Resi's a cut and Dead Space is a stick for now.
Keep for now, yeah. That's
but see, I would just go further with Dead Space and say like the necromorphs. I think they're one of the most terrifying enemies in a video game. And now rendered in the way they are, and I know that sounds like I'm talking about visuals, but I'm going to get to the audio. The way they come at you and the way they look, the noise, the volume, because you are walking around this ship, like I say, this old ship that is creaking, and there's a hiss suddenly from the vents, and then when one does come at you, the roar, the intensity of the roar when they come at you is. Like
it's the clarity in it as well. Like I was going to put it in the moments of the year list, but there's just too many. So I'll talk about it now. There's a scene where there's those like spinning pillars with like spikes on, like the meat grinders. And there's that room where they're all going off, and you're trying to survive against like a wave of these necromorphs. And despite there being the noise of the like rattling and the humming of these fucking meat grinder, you can still hear these creatures, but they're still masked behind it. So again, that moment, it's one of the worst moments to play in it because you don't know where they're coming from. You've got all this noise to distract you, but you can still pinpoint the noises, so you do have some idea but you only find that out when they're right next to you, and it's just the so well done, the audio.
The zero gravity, the way they do that, and I know that's been done, like Mass Effect 2 did it and stuff, but like the violence of which when Isaac stamps on them when they're on the ground, that impacts you because of the audio of the thump and the squishing, and it is so. And
also the noise when you're outside the ship.
Yeah, the zero G stuff.
It kind of
muffles it.
Muffles. That's the word.
It's if you've ever played the intro to Mass Effect 2, it's that. But like that, not to downplay it, it's still cool. I don't want to cut Dead Space yet. I'm happy to cut Resi.
Mm-hmm.
But can we keep Dead Space at least till we get a bit closer? Because I think the audio of that game is something else.
Can I be an arsehole?
Sure.
Always.
Can we talk about whether Bayonetta Origins makes the top
okay.
5?
That isn't what I thought was coming. Okay.
No, I thought different too. I think we thought the same thing.
It begins with B.
It does begin with B.
Yeah.
God, no. Seriously though, because like the voice acting's good in this game, and the storytelling piece, and I know you love the Cheshire noise and stuff like that, but I can't really recall like the soundtrack too much in this game. I know
The voice acting's terrific, though.
the voice acting
acting
is
is
good,
superb.
but I'm just wondering at this stage
Yeah.
if it makes the top 5. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying when I'm looking at the rest of the list, I'm like,
Yeah. I was basically for the voice acting alone, just trying to see how long no one would talk about it.
The music is gorgeous. It's just beautiful orchestral theme. And it's a little bit of a digression from the sort of main Bayonetta stuff where they play the oh god, what's the song? The Moon song. Oh my god, I can't.
The Moon song.
Yeah, that one.
I do know the song.
You know what I mean? It's a classical piece of music, and fly me to the moon.
Sonata.
Fly me to the moon. Moonlight.
Yeah, Fly
It's
Me
not
to
a
the
Moonlight
classical
Moon.
song. It's
Sonata.
Frank Sinatra, isn't it? No, Fly Me to the
Frank
Moon.
Sinatra.
Yeah. But like, it is a bit of a diversion from, because we talked about this before, so maybe we won't go over it again. But it is a diversion from the sort of very much the campy nature of the Bayonetta series, which is great. It's a very different animal. But yeah, I would be with Lyle, and I would say that it is. I love that they got someone who sounds like an old English voice actress, and she's doing the voice of Cheshire. That's kind of like, I'm an angry.
yeah, it's like an old
demon."
woman
It's
trying to be
really
a cat.
good.
And I think that is so cool, and I think that's a really, really cool, fun thing. But also, it works. This storybook nature. But yeah, probably.
Yeah, it's one where when I'm looking at all the other games, I'm
That
like,
was
none of
the
these
thing
are
for
getting
me.
cut over it.
I didn't dislike it, and like I say, I'm just like I'm looking at this list going, I've got to get to 5.
It's a tough fucking.
We're down
year
to
for it,
7
isn't it?
now. Then I think that is. I just quickly double check.
Yeah, only 7.
And I don't really want to get rid of any of them.
I do want to get rid of one of them.
Okay, what you thinking? What are you doing?
I know what he's thinking.
Final Fantasy 16.
Yeah, I know that's what you were going to say.
I don't think it
Fucking
hangs
hell.
with the rest of the games on this list. We haven't talked about Baldur's Gate, Mario Wonder, Octopath, or Alan Wake yet. We will, of course we will. But I don't think even of those 4 I just mentioned that we haven't talked about, I don't think it hangs with them. I don't think it's got the music or voice acting that I guess the most direct comparison. It's not really a JRPG, but Octopath Traveler 2, I think the music and the voice acting is far superior.
Yeah, I like the audio in Final Fantasy.
Oh,
Yeah.
listen, we're down to a top 7 here, so I'm not saying it's shit. I just don't think it's.
I tell you what I remember though most, apart from Sid's voice.
It is Sid,
Oh
and
God,
that's
throwing a
because
kettle
he's
over a
got-
pub. That's all I can think.
But right, like, if that's the case, then let's bring Diablo 4 in here then as well, because he is
Yeah,
same
but
voice. He is
yeah,
not.
but what
He's
I'm
barely
also
acting.
saying, yeah, but
Oh,
that's what
I
I'm
regret
not.
saying that.
I wasn't arguing for it. I wasn't.
Let's all
You
calm
just-
down a second. Let's
He's
just
pissed
breathe.
off because I mentioned Sea of Stars. I wasn't even saying that. I
no,
was
I'm
just saying the only thing apart from that guy's voice I remember at Final Fantasy 16 is just how loud it gets during the Eidolon. Were they called Eidolons? What are they called in Final Fantasy
Icons.
16?
Icons, yeah.
Yeah. That stuff is great. It's spectacular, but it's 2 giant titans pounding the shit out of each other, and but I don't think it does much else. Like, I don't think it. Like, I don't agree. I don't think Clive's voice actor does a good job, but I think he's not a great character for me. Like, there's not a lot of it that's very memorable, apart from those big moments that are spectacular by their nature, basically.
I think it's so for me, Final Fantasy 16's like Resident Evil 4, the remake, where it's a really good game. It's really good, but like when I look at the soundtrack, voice acting, sound effects, they're all good, but they're not reasons I'd go. They're not like stand out for me. Like that means it's like locked in best audio, especially compared to some of these games up here. So I love the game, but I probably love it for other reasons than the audio, and so I think it probably does at this stage for top 7 probably does deserve to be cut. I think.
Totally. I'm in the same boat. I kind of think that, like, for me, I'm a big fan of, like, epic RPG soundtracks. And on this list, there are 2 other games that I would say are sort of in that same camp that I liked more than Final Fantasy 16. So it's not one I'd be, like, desperate to defend either. Like, it's done very well, and I do think it's very good in terms of audio, but it's a fucking list, isn't it? It's a toughie. Something's got to give.
So cutting it.
Bye, Clive.
And one more is needed, and then we have a top 5 that needs arranging in order.
Should we talk about the games we haven't talked about? Or should we lock games? Or what should we do at this stage, do we think? Because we haven't spoken about...
We haven't spoken about 2, 4, 5, or 6.
So that's Octopath Traveler 2, Mario Wonder, Mario Bros. Wonder, Baldur's Gate 3, and Alan Wake 2.
Yeah.
I'm scared.
Yeah. Same.
Right, let's do it. Right, 'cause I'm not suggesting we cut this. I want to talk about it. Octopath Traveler 2. Now, obviously, I've not played as much as any of you. However, I will say that soundtrack is phenomenal. Possibly top 3 of the year for me. Because I haven't finished it, but I did listen to the soundtrack constantly. And there's one track, I can never remember what the city's called because it was such a long time ago. But it's just so beautiful, and it really kind of, every different town you go to, every kind of path through, like the snow or the prisons, or like it just the music was perfect. It fit perfectly with every location. So
I wasn't expecting all the voice acting. I wasn't.
I think the voice acting needs mentioning because I think they nailed it. Like the characters are alive because of that voice work.
Yeah.
And often it eschews voice acting. Like, you read a lot of it because because there's so much dialogue, and again, this is a genre that is like eons old now, really. So it came from a time where they just didn't need to put dialogue into it, or it was too hard. But I wasn't expecting it to be fully voiced. Like I
can hear the way Particio says "throne."
Yeah.
Now I can hear it. Throne.
Yeah.
I think Octopath Traveler's a lot.
And there are quite a lot of like, the voice acting needs to be good in these stories.
Yeah, because they are
quite a lot
the character via it.
Pretty dark times in some of these stories.
Well, no, but what I mean is like, because of the way it's animated or not animated, the characters are conveyed by that.
Exactly. And if the voice acting's wooden, it would shit the bed. And it really,
and you don't expect it to be as emotive as it. Like you like, and how trying to word it, kind of what Adam said. I'm trying to word it like, you have got these little, like, there it's it's pixelated art. Like you don't expect to get the emotion from it, like, just because of the voice acting. Like, it could just be a voiceover over a static screen. But I think it's fantastic storytelling. In that
sometimes it's the voice acting in combination with the background music. Sometimes it's the absence of a background track and just the voicing, because that's what it needs at that moment. It's so well considered and executed. Like, I'd
argue that's probably a lock.
I think Octopath Traveler 2 is top 5 lock for me.
Yeah, I would want to lock it. Yes.
Because there's so many different facets to its audio, and in many ways, when I think about, if I was to say a thing to say what's my favorite bit of Octopath Traveler 2, the audio is one of the first things I think of when I think about that game. It's so good from the moment you turn on the game and that opening menu music starts, and then all the way through. I fucking love it. It's a lock for me.
Same.
Okay, well, that's one lock.
Well,
if that was your intention, Chris White. But
no, 100%, it's a lock.
Nice. Do we think another lock is Super Mario Brothers Wonder? Because that very much is for me.
So it is for me, and the reason it's not just because the soundtrack, which is great. But start off like with a strong bass line. Everything about this game is musical, and a lot of it you don't notice I did. Like, I'll be honest. Like the very first time I played this game, I think the first 2 levels for the podcast, and we talked about it.
Yeah.
And you mentioned all about the hi-hat stuff and the drum roll stuff, and I didn't really notice because I was just blitzing through the levels, going, "This is fucking amazing." And then when you start thinking about it, you can't stop hearing all the little flourishes.
I tell you something I saw recently on Reddit. Someone was saying, "Nintendo, please patch Mario Bros. Wonder so I can turn off the jump sound." And I was like, "Oh, mate,
Really?
Oh,
What?
mate."
This is why some people don't deserve nice things.
No, but the thing that made me laugh the most about it is, one, is that's such a joyous noise, but two, it's the same fucking noise only played on a guitar. Like it's a nylon, it's the same jump noise. It's just it's just done with a real instrument.
And like gamers our age who have played Mario since we were children, like literally since we were children, those sound effects are kind of. I couldn't if I played a Mario game without those sound effects. I would notice their absence, like immediately.
But what is really interesting to me is, to that point, they're so ingrained to us about what they should sound like, and yet Wonder sounds like such a faithful adaptation of that that it doesn't feel like, you don't sit there and go, "Well, that's not how Mario's jump should sound like," or "That's not how that should sound like." It's done. Like it's same but different, but done in a really excellent way. If you know what I mean, it's faithful.
I would also add to that before the game came out, the sort of furore around new voice actors and all that blah blah blah, and then when it came out, because it was just so well done, no one gave a shit. Like it was more that people wanted there to be some big drama and big deal, and it's like kind of isn't. It's just done really well, and it's the same with Wario. Like they've done, it's fine. I think it's a lock. I think like it's such a musical game. It would be.
I think it would be. I'd be upset. This game is musical. That's what it's one of the words you use to describe it.
Administrative. I'm doing it. I'm doing it. Alan Wake 2 is another lock, man.
Yeah, I was waiting.
I mean, Jesus Christ! Not only is the voice acting absolutely out of this world good, like, and that's a weird statement to make because I know some of it's like cheesy and campy and that, but that is by design. Like, it is actually done to perfection. It is intentionally, like, when you do go, you're supposed to, like when Alan's reading sort of from his, when he's monologuing at you and you're like, oh blimey, you're supposed to go, oh blimey, he's supposed to be a hacky kind of, he's not supposed to be. I don't know who's a well-known, tremendous author. Mick Fraser. He's not supposed to be. He's not supposed to be a Mick Fraser, like where you read his words and you're like. I always think of Alan Wake as kind of not that far removed from Garth Marenghi. Like not that much. He's not that much. Like he is. But do you know what I mean? Where it's like the self-importance, the
He's a very awkward character as well, isn't he? I know they don't get a chance to show it as much in the games because. He's usually in some sort of peril or he's usually confused. But he's like the talk show segments, for example. He's just really, really confused about what's going on.
But can we mention that without spoiling? Because I don't think we need to spoil yet. But should we just say that the music? The music.
Yeah, let's not spoil
the music's
that.
important.
It's different. We will talk about this in the next category as well because they do a lot of good stuff where the visuals and the audio connect.
But away from the thing that we're all thinking about that we're not saying because it's in best moment.
I'm also thinking about other stuff.
The interstitial music between the chapters, like when I first. So I'm a huge fan of the original. I've said on other podcasts. If you only listen to this podcast, these us Game of the Year. Listen to us every week because we talk like this all the time. But it's something I mentioned is that I know that some people come to it just for the Game of the Year and it's like. Give us a try the rest of the year as well. So, Chris White, I'll come to you here because and Lyle, and in fact, Chris, I think you're the only one who didn't play the original, right?
Oh yeah,
but something I never in a million years thought they'd bring back was the end of chapter. Let's play a bit of a song.
Oh, some of the songs.
I love that.
Yeah, but what I mean is, I didn't think that would come back because when they did that, originally the plan was for the game to be episodic. It wasn't. It ended up being here's Alan Wake, but that remained. Because at a time there were a lot of games like doing that episodic thing. It was one of the big things in gaming to be let's be an episodic game, and I didn't think that would come back. And when that first black screen appears and the music, I nearly cried then. No, I didn't. It's just a break in voice. And then the music starts playing, and I know they do use some of the music repeatedly, like as a chapter interstitials, but like every one of them tracks is a banger. It reminds me a little bit. I don't know if any of you guys are like fans of Rick and Morty, but when they use licensed
Yeah, oh
music,
my
they
God.
tend to use
Oh,
absolute
yeah.
bangers. Like I'm thinking of the
It is
scene.
just like that, actually.
Do you know what I mean? Like I'm thinking of the scene where Rick goes to finish himself at the end of one.
Oh, he's too
That's so
drunk to
good.
shoot him. So he
and that's it. That's exactly the moment. And then that music, like
fucking it,
when
ridiculous.
when they use that licensed music, you've never heard of that song, but you go, wow. Do you know what? It also reminds me a little bit of like Red Dead Redemption when you go into Mexico and that music's perfect, and Dead Man's Gun at the end of that game. The music they choose is, and I know some of it's original and some of it's not, but like the music's amazing, the voice acting is amazing, the sound effects in the game are amazing. Like there is nothing about the audio design of Alan Wake 2 I can criticize. Nothing.
And just also not for nothing, those fucking scares, those jump scares.
Yeah,
that
the
come out of
Do you know
nowhere.
what? There is one thing I can criticize. I did get a bit tired of wake.
Oh, see, I didn't.
Yeah, I like that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I just wish there was a few
I was
more
going
of
to say, I do think that not necessarily the break thing, but like the other stuff in terms
They
of
sound like dogs that are angry.
yeah, Scooby Doo. Like the effects, or whatever you want to call them, the sound effects for the enemies and things in terms of how that works.
Great.
Because when you can't see, we talked about it in terms of the 3D stuff, like that's good, but also it's unnerving, especially in the Alan stuff. Like it is done well, and you don't quite know if it's like, are they going to come at me, or are they going to sort of are they dispersal ones, are they attacking ones? I'm not too sure. And it's like
when you get later on in the
well.
game, I think Chris, you've done this. I know the other guys have. I'll just say the nursing home, right?
Yeah,
where they sort of ramp up one of the scare methods I don't want to spoil this game, but they ramp up the method. There's a scare method they use that everyone will have seen if they played a bit of it. It's been done before, but they do it really well. When they get to that, like you think normally 15 to 20 hours into any game, whether it be horror or just a thriller, you would be kind of not numb to it, but you would be like, yeah, I've seen your tricks, game. But they ramp it up, and a lot of that is down to the audio. It is particularly aggressive and particularly kind of demonic, horror-y, scary, and they still manage to step that up another level. And then, and I won't spoil this bit, but then after that, there's a song on a beach. Like, so even that, they just keep going up and up and up. And I say, maybe there could have been a few more wake moments, but like other than that, I can't criticize the audio. That's a lock. That's not only a lock. We need to talk about that game. So,
right.
Anyone left?
Baldur's Gate 3.
Yes.
Audio. We're talking about how games' best audio is a collection of the soundtrack, the voice acting, the sound effects, and the way they all meld together. Like there was bar Alan Wake and Mario. There is no other games this year that have done something so well in its audio. Like the voice acting, there are 248 voice actors in this game.
Wow.
There are, and I know it's not about numbers, right? And I'm getting to my point, but there's like over 3,500 lines of dialogue, and you can
There are lines in this game you'll never hear, and you can play it over and over and over,
and you can interact with. But pretty much every single character, 98% of the characters you see, you can go over and talk to. It might just be one line. It might be a quest. It might be a conversation that doesn't amount to anything. But every single character, every NPC is alive. You can overhear conversations as you're wandering through the city. Like when you finally get to Baldur's Gate, it's this vibrant city, and it's different to where you go.
Thing you can do is that you can go. I'll get there one day.
You finally, eventually, yeah. But like, so there's that, and then the actual core party, the voice acting is like these are.
That's great.
I don't call them voice actors because they're actors as well. They mocap, so these actors are phenomenal. And like, I know Neil Newbon's been nominated at the Game of the Year for like his Astarion, but there are so many other characters that are incredible.
I can listen to Shadowheart read the phone book.
Shadowheart for yeah.
I'd go one further. I think that something that is not. I haven't seen it talked about because I agree with everything Chris has said. I think how the fact they get away with having a narrator, which is not an easy thing to do.
Yeah,
and
you
having
don't
a
even
narrator
kind
who
of notice
interjects.
that it's there.
And that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying. You will be having a conversation, and then there's a narrator, and the first time you do it, there's a bit of dissonance because you're like, wait, what's that voice? And then your brain goes, oh, yes, it's D&D. That's the D&D narrator. And I think the fact that they not only get away with that, but they deliver it in such a cool, clever, good way is like I can't think of many games that have managed that with it. I know we're talking about voice acting. The music's terrific as well, and the sound effects are cool. But it is
It's
like
that
the voice
dice
acting
roll.
is.
The dice roll just never got like.
I mean, I think this is a lock. I know we've got to talk about them, but I think it's
I think it's a lot too. I think it has
like
to be.
I say that narrator for me. Like I don't know how they've. I feel like of all the people, I'm the one that would go, "That's so stupid. That's so weird." But I just think it's
I don't
really,
like
really
being
cool.
narrated at. Like I don't.
No,
like
who would?
in
Because they
any
take the
way,
agency
shape,
away
or
from
form.
you as player, but yet somehow I didn't feel they did. It's clever because it means they didn't have to voice your character,
Yeah.
but they also have voiced. It's that weird.
It's more
thing.
like when you're walking around, you say the odd sentence.
Mm.
It's like not whenever you're choosing your dialogue options, you don't talk, but then that makes sense to me because you're that character. It doesn't matter if they
Yes.
look like a big blue drow or a fucking halfling. It's you, so that makes sense to not have that.
But I also
But
like
like-
that they could have gone, oh, listen, we know Chris White's going to play this game and he loves D&D and Mick's the same, but we want mass appeal, so we kind of can't just have suddenly some woman talking about what's happening in the world because people like Adam and Chris won't get it. They didn't do that. They went, no, this we're with no apologies. No apologies.
No.
We are making this.
And picking the Amelia Tyler, her name is, picking her. She's got a beautiful voice as well, so it never gets old.
So are we locking Baldur's Gate?
I just want to talk about soundtrack.
Yeah, of course.
I mean, yeah.
So the songs are amazing, obviously. Like whether it's like the songs that play as you're just trotting around and whatnot. Like there's a lot of effort's been put into them, but then there's full on numbers that you can listen to that you can miss on a playthrough. Like you'll never see. You might miss one.
That was quite an old man thing you just said then.
What?
You said there were numbers you can miss.
Numbers.
Because
You said tracks.
You mean songs,
Two.
right?
Yeah, I mean,
Okay.
yeah.
That was
Yeah.
quite an old man thing.
That's
Just
like Top of the Pops type.
you're just spinning your vinyls and a
Yeah.
cracking
I am,
number
yeah.
came on. That was mind you, vinyl are popular, so maybe it's not.
He's just gone full circle and made us look shit.
Yeah, maybe he's the youth man.
I am the Ute.
Youth.
But like, there's a song where you meet a tiefling very near the start.
Is that youth
And
slang?
if you no, it's a class.
Uh-oh.
It's a race. Sorry. So if you turn left up the stairs, you'll never see it. If you kind of wander off the beaten path, you get to do this
Amazing.
mission where you try and help her write a song, and she's asking for feedback. And then she goes, right, I think I've got it. And then for 3 minutes, you're just sat there whilst this animated character sings this full song that has been written just for that moment, and you can miss it completely. And it does it again later on, and it's ridiculous. And like consistently throughout, it uses the same. There's the same melody in the opening, like when you're creating your characters. It's a song Down by the River, and it plays all the time, and you hear the melody all the time. But it changes the lyrics at certain parts, and it ties it all together. So the score's phenomenal. And then the sound effects, like of the creatures and the world, like the whispering in the trees. There's some like areas that are really fucked up compared to like the lovely, atmosphere of Baldur's Gate, and then you've got the first world, which is a bit like more interacting with like the nature of it all. There's just a lot of effort gone into the audio in every element of it, really. So
So we're locking that, which means we have to remove Dead Space or Sea of Stars.
I think it's a vote, isn't it? Because I
reckon
because we could argue
have talked.
I
till we're
don't
blue
know.
in the face.
We've talked
I
all
don't wanna-
these games.
Yeah, I don't want to kick Sea of Stars again, but you guys were really quite passionate about Dead Space earlier. I didn't get the same.
Yeah, but worth noting, Chris and I were. Chris Hyde and Lyle haven't played it, so
I've played a bit.
I feel oddly protective of Dead Space because of it's a bit like Alan Wake 2, where I never thought I'd see it happen. So I feel a bit protective of it. Like someone's got to put up with got to stand up for the little guys like EA.
I'm sure they're grateful for your support as well.
Yeah.
and Remedy, this massive. Let's take a vote. Vote which one we're cutting. So we've got our top 5. I vote that we cut Sea of Stars.
He did it.
Chris Hyde.
It's worth noting that you can tell he hated himself, Lyle.
It is worth noting.
Yeah. I'd cut Dead Space.
Lyle.
I'd cut Dead Space.
Uh-oh. Chris White.
I'd cut Sea of Stars.
Well, we know. Oh, Cook, brilliant. Give him the fucking...
He could swerve on us and...
Oh, could you imagine?
Never
No,
try and
like-
predict a
For the
Mick.
fans.
Never try
I'll
and
tell you
predict
what,
a Mick.
right? This is funny because
It's not.
I've watched Dead Space be played like almost the whole game because I watch a YouTuber who does these long non-commentary let's plays on scary games, so I don't have to. And I've played Sea of Stars.
Boingy, boingy, Sea of Stars.
Yeah, but I just vote to cut Sea of Stars.
Oh, you're doing a Simon Cowell.
Yeah,
You're dragging it
I thought
out.
He was gonna. I did. Think
No, I
that he was
don't-
gonna
I
go, "Do
just-
you know what?
I-
I watched those Let's Plays and I thought the audio was shit.
Well, Dead Space is 5th then by default.
And look, Sea of Stars is going to pop up again. Like
It's-
I'm not,
it's
you know what I
gone.
mean? This is.
I will. Can we just
it's a
talk about it
strong list
briefly
of
because we
five,
haven't.
you know?
Sea of Stars' soundtrack is fucking banging. Every song is a banger.
in your opinion.
From yes, obviously. Every time I speak, it's my opinion. Obviously, that's just go without saying.
I make that day 2, just for anyone listening on the bingo there. Day 2, Chris got uppity.
Yeah, there we go. Sorry, I should start every sentence with "in my opinion."
you should.
Yeah, I think from the first,
Instead of
the first
categorically
two-
stating facts, you should tell us it's your opinion.
Okay, yeah. I think
Listen, these podcasts don't need to be a full 24 hours, lads. It's fine. It's
yeah, yeah.
I don't think anyone's disagreeing, though. Sea of Stars has got.
I think someone is.
Well, yeah, fair point. But it's gone. It's gone.
I'm not saying it's shit. I'm all jokes aside.
The more
I'm
you
not.
say
I'm
that, the
saying
more it
it's
feels
not.
like you are.
I know, but
Then
I'm saying
please
that
stop,
of this
because-
list, I think
It's gone. It's gone. 5th place is Dead Space. Now we need to work out what's 1st, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th.
Fucking hell, I thought you were running the list down.
No,
Oh, Jesus, I didn't realize we would
No.
agreed this. In fifth place, it's Dead Space.
Is Octopath 4th?
No, not. This is right. So this is hard.
God.
They're all hard, mate.
Well, no, I'm just thinking.
I think number 1 is Baldur's Gate or Alan Wake.
I think I agree with that statement.
I agree with if it's an or statement, I do
Yes,
also
yes, I agree.
yes.
One of those games he said, I agree, is number 1. That's what I'm saying.
I didn't.
Mm,
I
do
don't.
I?
So therefore, what the fuck am I here for? But you know, so it's.
What about what? Can we try and lock 5? Maybe. What's the?
We have
one
locked
that
5.
we're-
Jesus,
We've
let's
done
move.
that, mate.
Oh, did you
Dead
lock
Space.
Dead
Yeah,
Space?
you
as
were
Yeah,
well?
it has
saying
to be,
about
has
Sea
to
of
be.
Stars, and we locked Dead Space at 5.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it has to be.
Sorry. I was too busy seething with hatred
So,
about that.
are we
perfectly
putting
good
Octopath
JRPG.
4th and Mario 3rd?
Oh,
I
don't
don't
let's
want
see
to,
how
but
it
I think
looks.
I'm going to
Let's
get
see how it
outvoted.
looks.
I think it's just fucking hard. Like for me, those two games are. This is where for me I view things maybe differently to you guys, and I haven't played as much Baldur's Gate as you guys, so I'm not. I'm more thinking about Alan Wake when I say this, and I'm not.
Oh, to be
dismissing
clear, I
the
don't
audio.
agree with this list, by the way, Chris. I've just said, let's see. I don't agree with how that list is. Just to be clear.
No, yeah, okay. So I guess I don't agree with 3 and 4 being in 3 and 4
Nor do I.
because you said about do you agree with either 1 or 2 being in 1 or 2, and I don't. That's what I'm saying.
I said I agreed with Mick that one of the games he mentioned was number 1. I didn't agree
Yeah,
that they
that's
were
what
1
I'm
and
saying.
2.
we
I
both
don't.
meant
That's
Alan
what I'm
Wake
saying.
too.
I think so. I think
Yeah.
Alan Wake 2 is the best audio this year.
I would agree.
I don't think Baldur's Gate 3 is the best audio, and I don't think it's number 2. Well, it isn't my number 2. It's number 3 for me.
It's also not my number 2 personally. I think Mario Wonder has to be 2.
That would be my number
I think
2.
Mario Wonder is very soft.
Mario Wonder's my best audio, but
It would be my number 2, but only because Alan Wake is. I mean,
me-
there's
for me-
not a lot between them for me, if I'm honest.
Fair.
I mean,
Yeah,
they couldn't be more different. There's a lot between them in that respect.
100%. I guess for me, Mario Wonder for me is like pure audio, whereas there's lots of things that work together to make Alan Wake the atmospheric marvel that it is. That isn't just the audio. So I that's where I would put. For me, I'd put Wonder ahead.
I think I'd leave 4 and 5 in that case as they are.
Octopath Traveler.
I don't think
Fucking
Octopath
lush.
Traveler
I haven't
2
played
has
enough of
better
Baldur's
audio
Gate
than
to
Baldur's
say-
Gate 3. I just don't think it's better overall in the audio.
I don't think there's a single part of Baldur's Gate 3's voice acting, for example, that is poor. I think every piece of that. I mean, I haven't heard it all. As Chris mentioned, there's so
No
much.
one
of
has.
it.
Oh, yeah,
I can't speak to the stuff I haven't heard, but what I have heard, every character feels believable. Feels like it's quite an achievement in terms of that character.
I think if Alan Wake's 1 and Mario is 2, I think Baldur's Gate 3 has to be 3. On that list, I think it has to be.
So that's
I really don't know which order
I
I'd put
don't.
3
I'm
and
not
4.
knocking Octopath Traveler 2. For me, in my list, Octopath Traveler 2 would be above Super Mario Brothers Wonder because I think the voice acting in Octopath Traveler 2 is fantastic. I think that list is. If we're saying that 1 and 2 are locked at 1 and 2, and 5 is locked at 5, I think.
I don't know that we are locking them anything apart from 5 yet. If I'm honest.
Yeah.
I mean, I will say, personally speaking, that list is fine. I'd probably swap 3 and 4, but I'm not going to fight that at all. I think Baldur's Gate is more than worthy of a top 3.
I think this is one of those lists where you've just got 5 that are just so strong. I know that's the whole point, but it's really hard to rank, and they're very different. They're all very different in terms of what they do.
Yeah, again, I would also possibly. I actually can't really decide if I want to swap 3 and 4. And I think based on that, it being uncertain and how passionate, because I think. I mean, to be honest, I think we've done Chris White a bit dirty, and that Baldur's Gate's 3rd, and he's not had a chance to say anything about how much he disagrees. But
no, he's welcome to. I will.
Is there any way we can vote these into a lock? What can we do?
I think the general consensus is that Alan Wake is first for everybody on the whole.
But I don't dislike Alan Wake 2's audio, so I'm fine with it being in the 1.
Like, I love Alan Wake's audio. I love it. It's incredible. And I don't Baldur's Gate, if it's not getting 1, which I get it won't, it's a 2 for me. But the general thing is that it's not. So, like,
it's my 2 as well.
I know that Chris Hyde thinks Baldur's Gate's a number 2.
No, listen, right? This is hard for me because, like, of the 4 that we're now talking about,
get some stool softeners, mate. It'll be much easier.
Like, I haven't played enough of Baldur's Gate 3, but I have seen a lot and heard you guys, and I've seen enough to know if that carries on for 157 million hours, that's fucking impressive, right? Because it is good quality. Like I say, for me, it's like I've played all of Octopath, loved it from beginning to end, so I have more of affinity to it. But I'm not sitting there going, I disagree with what we're talking about. Baldur's Gate 3.
I think this is coming down to a vote for 2nd and 3rd, and I think it's between the 2 that are in 2nd and 3rd, and we need to vote on what's 2nd. And
I think if you do vote between 2nd and 3rd, it's going to stay as it is.
Yeah,
I think so
it's
too.
me and Chris saying Baldur's and you guys saying Mario, and that's fine because, well, for me.
So that's the list. Is the list, and no one's happy, but everyone's happy.
No one's happy, but no one is royally pissed off. I think.
No,
so am I locking that?
Which is the best we can hope for at Christmas.
Am I reading this?
Chris White.
Yeah.
In 5th place for Best Audio this year, Dead Space. In 4th place, Octopath Traveler 2. In 3rd place, Baldur's Gate 3. In 2nd place, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. In 1st place, Best Audio for 2023 is Alan Wake 2. How do we all feel? Like, is everyone okay?
No, not really.
No, I don't know why I came.
No, I have.
Okay.
It's fine. Good chat. Let's go.
So, we're into Best Visuals, which last year was won by, here's a shock for you, God of War
Ragnarok. Oh, I was going to try and win.
I'm giving people the chance to guess some of them, and I'm just reading the
I
others.
have no idea what would have been 2nd.
Horizon Forbidden West.
Oh, shit.
Oh, God,
I think we had that was a good discussion as well, I think.
Jesus.
Elden Ring in 3rd, The Callisto Protocol in 4th, and in 5th, Nobody Saves the World.
Oh.
Best Visuals for 2023. The nominees are plentiful. Bayonetta Origins, Cereza and the Lost Demon, Dead Space, Astral Ascent, Hi-Fi Rush, Disney Illusion Island, Chia, Immortals of Avium, Octopath Traveler 2, Horizon Call of the Mountain, Cookie Cutter, Cyberpunk 2077 Phantom Liberty DLC, The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom, Avatar Frontiers of Pandora, Resident Evil 4 Remake, Have a Nice Death, Star Wars Jedi Survivor, Oxenfree 2, Final Fantasy 16, Cocoon, Marvel Spider-Man 2, Super Mario Bros. Wonder, Mortal Kombat 1, Jusant, Alan Wake 2, and Forza Motorsport.
Oh,
Bloody hell.
fucking hell! Oh my god!
Can I offer a question straight away?
Yes.
And this is only because this is a series that is consistently beautiful. But I don't know what it stepped up this year because I didn't play it. Forza. Like consistently good. Not going to knock the visuals
Just
on it.
cars, in it.
Yeah, and again, it's the same as I said about the audio. Like they do it arguably better than anyone, or at least as good as the top. But
So
in a list
what you
like this of
say
such diverse,
visually, it's the best.
I'm just asking if it's the best game visually of the year. When there's
Look,
some really crazy bangers on this list.
Look. There are 25 fucking video games on this list.
I don't think Forza's going to survive to
It
the
is
top
not
five.
going to make. It is not going to oust 20 of these games. It is just not. I do think we talked about it in Best Audio, and I do think it's worth mentioning. It is exceptionally beautiful to look at. I think the way they do the reflections in the windscreen, I think the way they have the morning sun where it comes up and it blinds you, just like we mentioned this all on the pod. I don't want to repeat myself too much, but I know it is exceptionally good looking. It does do things video wise and audio wise I haven't seen in another racer. But it's a cut, isn't it? It's a cut.
Yeah, I'm comfortable with that.
In that vein,
Huh?
Does anybody listen to Jay-Z, by the way?
Yes.
No.
Cheer sounds like when Jay-Z says yes in any of his rap songs. Cheer! It does, doesn't it?
So I'm hearing we're cutting Cheer.
open the review with that.
Yeah.
Cheer's a cut, right? I mean, it's a pretty game,
Yeah.
but it's not even. It's.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were,
Like
its
it's-
closest
it's-
comparison would be Jusant, and it ain't as good looking as Jusant.
Or Zelda, and it ain't as good looking as Zelda
It
either.
ain't as good looking as Zelda, mate.
It ain't as good looking as Zelda.
It is. Can I Disney Illusion Island?
Yeah.
Making the top 5.
Yeah, nah, not a chance.
I was
Can we
going
just,
to ask.
let's just get a couple down.
Do you know?
Let's get below
I will
20.
say, there's an interesting thing about Disney Illusions Island. Well, obviously my kids are a bit more grown up now. I think Chris White and Mick and definitely Chris Hyde will be in that sort of Disney ballpark.
There's an animation on Disney Plus, Mickey and Friends, which it looks exactly like this, and it's fucking amazing.
So that's the thing, right? This is the kind of new era of Disney, isn't it? Like that isn't how I remember Mickey and Friends looking. But I knew, of course, when I reviewed it, that is like that is what.
That's what they look like.
That's
now.
what they look like now, and they do
Yeah.
they do it brilliantly. But
Yeah.
it's not the best looking Metroidvania on this list.
No.
Hmm.
Hi-Fi
No, it's
Rush.
Okay.
I don't know about that actually, because Hi-Fi Rush is because we talked about it in Best Audio and we kind of cut it quite quickly, which is weird because it's such an audio game, but it's really good looking. Like the art style in it is really, really.
Yeah.
I want to say unique. Maybe it's not so unique now.
Do you know why I think it does get cut? And I don't think we've said it yet on day 2, but in any other year, no. The reason I say that is because what we're going to get down to when it gets to getting 5 from this original 25 is it's almost got to be like flawless.
Yeah.
And
Someone
Hi-Fi
to make it
Rush
hard.
is beautiful and the art style is amazing, but some of the level design itself,
Heidi
it does
got it.
repeat a little bit. It does like the lava level, like it's a bit generic in places where they focus on the characters a lot. So I think it's a cut.
It's not top 5, is it?
What's Have a Nice Death? I've seen Have a Nice Death.
It's a
Is that one of those that's
what it
very
is.
like a?
It is a
Lyle
cut.
cut.
It's a Lyle cut.
Oh,
But it's
right.
one of those games that it did need a
Is
mention. It has a
It's
really...
like a unique visual style.
Yeah. It's like a...
Well, it was until that other game came out that looks exactly like it, and that they obviously would just develop. What was that one? It was similar. It was called something. Oh, we didn't cover it. It was.
No, we
You know
didn't.
the one I'm
Basically,
talking about, right?
It's identical, didn't
Have a
it?
Good
And it
Life.
came like a month later.
No, isn't it Death Inc? No, it's not Death Inc. or something. Is it? Is it Death Inc?
It could be, actually. Yeah, maybe.
No,
don't
Death
know.
Inc.'s the firm in Have a Nice Death, isn't it?
Oh, it is.
Yeah,
Yeah, I think
yeah.
you're right. But like,
Are
I
you
think
two all right?
Yeah.
talking about
discussing
a name
great
of a game
games.
that neither of us have any idea what it could
But
be.
no, but it's like
just
you're
mentioning death.
both getting the same things wrong at the same time, and it's just funny watching it.
Yeah. So the thing about Have a Nice Death is like the art style of that game. Like it felt like it could be a TV show, like an adult animation show with that style, and that like it had like the sort of like the humor of like The Office, but in sort of like an undead equivalent, and it was really cool. And I do think like it was very striking looking, but any other year I'd maybe try and fight for it to stay around a bit longer. But I don't think it'd be in my top 5 of this list, and it's me who's would be champion it. So
No, I can't.
Cool.
I can't champion. It's a very start. Like you say, it's beautiful, but
yeah.
it's not there.
On the old bingo cards,
Yep.
I wanna say, I just want to give it its due. Cocoon won't be a top 5, and I'm not sure it's going to get talked about a lot other than at the end. But Cocoon is a fantastic game, and it does look pretty, and it's by the guy who basically did Limbo, Inside, known for the visual appeal of just telling a story through the world and the characters themselves rather than any dialogue or subtitles popping up on screen every 5 seconds. Its world is basically told through the visuals, and like it's fantastic. And if you ever get a chance, to give it a go, it's not particularly long.
It's in Game Pass, I think.
Its puzzles are really smart. Like if there was a category for that, it'd be in the
puzzles.
top 5. yeah. It's fantastic, but it's not top 5. But it is a great game.
Okay. This is a juicy list already.
I've got another cut.
Yeah, go on.
Jusant.
Okay.
And I reviewed it, and I loved it. It's a very chilled game, and it's a very pretty game. The different biomes, the worlds that you interact with. There's not really a lot. You don't do a lot other than climb, and I know that sounds like reductive of what it is, but it's more than that. But you are essentially climbing up this huge mountain, and the visuals are pretty, but again, it kind of falls into that cheer category. It's not Tears of the Kingdom, It has.
It's very pretty though. It's a painted world. It's beautiful to look at.
And some of them are really like the area where you kind of get. It's probably towards the end where you're like the rain's hitting you on the side of the mountain, and you can see like the grass is growing out of the side of the mountain, and so it is very pretty. But it's not going to be in the top 5.
Okay, bye Jusant. I'm sorry.
Cyberpunk.
No, hang on. Before we get well, if you want to. You're probably right though,
and only because like. It does some great stuff, but there's something that it does that I wish I'd put it in audio for it, and I didn't. And we'll talk about it, or I'll talk about it in best moment. But that was what was the standout for it. Like the rest of it, they punched up the visuals a little bit from the original release. They fixed a lot of the bugs. The new area in it doesn't really differentiate itself all that much from what we already had in Liberty City. So it's.
You do kind of go to the same place over and over again.
Yeah.
That barn.
It's such a beautiful game when you play in it. It really is. It's so much of it, but it's not a beautiful game that came out this year. The DLC did, so it's like it's not doing anything new. So you can, as far as I'm concerned, you can cut that.
I want Star Wars Jedi Survivor off this list, and I don't want it to go any further down before we get rid of it. I don't think that game deserves to be on a list of best visuals, given the problems it had at launch, given the fact that it had tearing throughout on PlayStation, given the fact that if you played it on, I always get them around the wrong way, not performance, the other one, fidelity mode, like the smearing and
I do remember
motion
us
blur
discussing
they
this
had to
during
put on
the
them.
review period.
I've not had a game in third person ever make me feel motion sickness, and I was stunned. I think the game is great. I'm not shitting on the game.
No,
but
I think
the best visuals. Like it does. I think the first one does the visuals better. Like the opening section. I'm not going to get the names right, but
Cal.
Yeah, like where he's at, no, I mean like where he's at the ship graveyard at the start
On
of
the
the first one,
shipyard, yeah,
and you're
yeah.
seeing all the Star Warsy TIE fighters and ship fighting. I think they get that more right in the first game. The second one's a bigger game and it expands more, so it doesn't need to do it, and it's a sequel. But I don't think the visuals are.
I think it does a sense of scale well. I think in Star Wars,
Yeah.
That's
Jedi
fair.
Survivor. There's moments in the desert, I think, like in particular, that I can just remember, like some of those vistas and little like moments of it where, like the portal chase bit where where she's teleporting you through all these.
That's a really cool bit, yeah.
And it is quite like visually striking, and I do think there's a lot of stuff in it that, and I guess it's visual. It like Cal does little things, he's got little flourishes like with his lightsaber where he'll spin it, or and the little droid, is it BD1, does those little things.
But conversely, though, Mick, like there's also, because of the way it's shipped, there's bits where his character model will just go loopy, and it just destroys it for me. Like it was not released in a good enough state, that game.
I agree that it can't stay on this list because of the issues. I do think it, like Mick says, it looks nice. It conveys.
I'm not fighting for it to stay.
No, I'm not either.
I
but
just
I do
feel
think
like I should defend it a little.
Yeah,
bit.
no, same.
I
I like the way it looks, but I didn't like the way it performed. I don't think that is acceptable.
But I would go further. I'd be honest with you, and I would say that even if it had all those issues ironed out, I don't think it would make a top 5 on this list. I just don't.
Possibly not.
It's a
There are some
good-looking
stuff
game.
on this games on this list
trying to
that
be a
are
little bit more
mind-blowing.
balanced because it's not shit.
No,
I don't think it's a shit game at all. I don't. I finished it.
But
I think it's a
true
good game.
That it was very, very glitchy, and
It was unacceptable.
I can't deny that,
And what annoys me is, so was the first one. Another good game that was released, and that they finally got it right. And like when they re-released that, or did the PS5, Xbox Series, blah 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 version, it was like is that going to be a theme then?
And fuck me, it's massive, as well. Like that annoys me. Like it's a massive, like in terms of gig, right? So it's like it should.
Yes.
Run.
You feel like they should have probably unlimited money.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They
That's
don't,
fair.
because that is not how development works, and they also don't have an unlimited time. So I love Respawn, by the way. Like I will forever say, give us Titanfall 3. But best visuals, I'm sorry.
I think
not
your
for me.
point, like about like would it make the top 5 without the problems, is no. It probably wouldn't be being cut this early if it didn't have the.
That's fair.
performance issues,
That's fair.
Which I think are inexcusable. I agree with you on that. I do.
But there's some stuff on this list that's just on another level.
Yeah,
like
this
even
goes. I think we should.
But
delete
that's
it.
kind of my argument. Star Wars should be there. That's what Star Wars
cut
should
it.
be. Yeah. Okay.
Cut it.
Okay. Thank you for hearing me out. Nobody but me's played Horizon Call of the Mountain, right?
I was gonna
No,
question
it's the
that.
VR one, right?
Yes, that's
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And you did say it was one of the best looking VR.
Oh, it's got Sony money behind it, if you know what I mean. Like it's clearly, when you get like a new PlayStation 5 exclusive, and you are listen, even Spider-Man does it, and we'll get there. Final Fantasy 16 does it. That's an exclusive as well. That whatever happens when it comes to PlayStation 5 exclusives, the visuals are never a question. Right? Horizon Call of the Mountain is it's really nice. Like, it's really good. It's beautiful. It is living in that virtual world within reason of Horizon universe, but also so a lot of the game is, this isn't going to work for the audio listeners, but like a lot of it is climbing, and you are moving, and a lot of that I don't think is done brilliantly. Like I've seen better elsewhere.
This is what I was going to challenge it to say, like, because that is a visual cue, right? And
absolutely.
it's immersion breaking
massively.
to some extent. So I think
I'd say it makes up for it, because of the fact that when you are stood having conversations with people, you can kind of put your hands out in their faces and
give me a slip.
Sort of, but like there is a certain red-haired female character well known in the Horizon universe that you do briefly encounter in Call of the Mountain. Okay, and I'd done it to everyone else, so I was sort of like that. Not sorry, that in her face, in her face.
Oh right.
No,
that's
in
better.
her,
Yeah.
just like
not TNA.
Do you know what? It
Fingers
never,
in her mouth and that.
it never occurred to me to try that. No,
Taylor.
but like you just reaching out to
Oh,
people,
God.
sort of grabbing at them, and the look she gives you, it's loathing. It's like, you are.
I mean, it is a little bit rapey.
But I did it to all the men as well.
Oh, that's
Oh,
fine.
I'm not. To be clear, I'm not saying you are indiscriminately rapey.
Yeah,
Equality.
we're not saying you're a purely heterosexual rapist. We're saying that you're.
Yeah,
you know,
we're
I'm
saying
saying
you
the good
don't have
kind is what they're
standards.
saying.
I just thought it was funny that they knew people would do it, so they obviously
Yeah, well,
animated
no, that
it.
is a point. Like, we know people are going to try and
People are going to
jag
poke.
it. So
What game? I didn't like near not it was Lollipop Chainsaw did that where like if you tried to look up
Oh, the upskirt thing.
Darling
No, it's
Skirm,
on,
she
isn't
told
it
you
on,
off.
2B.
Nia
2B.
does it.
or
Nia
something.
does it as
Yeah,
well.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But no, they knew that people were going to reach out and like grab the faces of the vendors and the men and the women, and I just thought it was amusing that they sort of made them like recoil in horror. And the one that Aloy does is like just so distasteful. Like you sort of go, oh. I'm sorry. I was
Please
just trying to
forgive
have a
me.
laugh in a video game that's, the whole thing's
a snotty
stupid,
bitch
really. But now
anyway.
I feel genuinely bad. It's a cut. It's a beautiful, beautiful world. And like when you see the tall necks walking across you, that's all in the start of the game, by the way. That bit.
Yeah.
But it does kind of like there's bits like my son played it as well, so I was watching like on a 2D, and it's amazing. Like it's really, really beautiful. Like that we've got there. That's what PSVR 2 is terrific. But like he's just flying along the beams and he's like crisscrossing his arms over, like in a way that you just couldn't do. So they've gone for this ultra realistic. It looks so much like Horizon, and then you just climbing in a weird way, and it ruins it. So yeah, bye bye. So while we're there,
Option
Marvel
3
Spider-Man 2.
Oh, okay.
What?
Looks fucking great though, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Like all the time.
Fucking incredible.
right.
Why have you gone for that straight away?
I love it. He's like, right.
It's just more Spider-Man, isn't it? It's the
okay.
same city
It's
and
not more
everything.
Spider-Man.
It bloody is, mate. It's called Spider-Man 2. It's the definition of more Spider-Man. There's 2 of them in the game as well. It couldn't be more Spider-Mans.
Just more Zelda.
Yeah, cut
I
that
would
too.
say
Fuck
that,
it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Just-
Well, while we're at it.
Just more Alan Wake.
It's just more Zelda.
Whoa,
Just more Octopath. Sorry, I'll stop now. Just more Oxenfree.
The reason I mentioned
Final
Marvel
Fantasy.
Spider-Man 2 is that we have to get this list down to 5. Simple
They're
as
not
that.
easier cuts before that.
Okay.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
wouldn't cut
We'll come back
Spider-Man
to
yet.
Spider-Man then. Wow.
Yeah, we will.
I cut Oxenfree too.
Fucking accurate.
He's
Love it,
threatening me, Chris White.
Don't take no shit from
Fuck it out.
He's threatening me.
Um,
I mean, there's a game on here that only Mick's played.
Yeah.
Oh, Immortals.
Yes.
Yeah, it's gorgeous. Like all the time.
That's not
It's
enough, mate.
absolutely.
That's not
I
enough.
mean, it is.
needs to make your retinas
And
bleed.
look,
Has
yeah,
it got
I
any
mean-
Spider-Man in it?
No, it hasn't. And
Got it.
certainly got 2. I mean, obviously, it's not going to make top 5. I'm the only who's played it, but I'd argue that it's a better looking game than. I'd probably take Oxenfree 2 off first. But
Oh,
that's
I would
probably
also
gonna go
cut that.
well.
Yeah, I'd cut that as well.
So yeah, I mean, Immortals of Avium, it didn't do a lot of stuff really well. Like it's a very 7 out of 10 game, which is good, but that's it. Like, do you know what I mean? And I did really enjoy it. But yeah, it's stunning. Like the lip syncing on the characters is phenomenal. Like it's some of the best I've seen. And the emotion on the faces. I know it's all mocapped. I had some great, like Gina Torres is one of the characters. I had some great actors involved in it. But the visuals are just gorgeous. Like the landscapes are beautiful. It's got some of the most impressive. Not some of the most impressive. I'm not going to say that. It's got some really impressive, like skyboxes. There's a lot of stuff going on in the background of scenes, and it definitely deserved to be somewhere on the best visuals list this year. But if it's a cut, it's a cut. I'm the only one who's seen it.
I think it.
And I'm not
has
going to
be.
fight for it over at least 4 or 5 other games on the list. But it is a good looking game, and it's the only thing it's going to get mentioned for.
Oh,
So-
lads, I think we have to add one.
We do have to add one.
We do, don't we? So
Yeah.
I'm cutting Immortals of Avium,
Yeah.
and then I'm going to add Sea of Stars.
Yeah.
Oh, fuck
Because
off.
no, seriously
Oh,
though,
really?
because I'm
Why
just
was
about to
that
go in on
on
Astro
there?
Ascent if we're not talking about Sea of Stars.
I just was looking down the list, sort of assuming it was on there, and then realised it wasn't.
Yeah, no, I had the same thought and was
That's
going to
safe.
bring it up because I was.
That's a good
Yeah.
save. Up there
Yeah,
for
that's a
thinking,
great
down there
save.
for.
No, I was going to bring it up that it needed adding. And I was not just
Yeah.
for joy, but like.
What? Oxenfree
Right,
2.
in all seriousness,
Yeah.
Oxenfree 2 doesn't make the top 5.
No, Christ, no.
It's
Even
a
a Sea
lovely.
of Stars on that list.
Well, we'll get to it.
We'll get to that.
We'll get to that. Yeah,
Jesus
that's fine.
Christ.
We'll
I
get
don't.
to that
I
at the
don't
same
think
time as
Oxenfree
Spider-Man.
2 is anywhere near
No,
from a
it
visual
isn't.
point of view. It's lovely, but
Gone.
Is, and I don't really know the answer to this,
Oh.
but Chris White,
Oh.
is Mortal Kombat 1
This was my next question.
going to go the distance or not?
Shit, Street
Talk
Fighter's
to me.
not on
I
this
don't
list.
think it will go. Yeah, we
What
forgot
did he
Street.
say? I didn't
We
hear
forgot
what-
Street
I
Fighter
heard
6.
shit.
Street Fighter 6. Anyway, one fighter game at a time.
Oh shit! Yeah.
It makes my top 5, but it won't. I don't think it'll make ours. I think visually it's phenomenal in the way it's as smooth as butter. There's no issues whatsoever. I know that's not what it's about.
No.
But like the cutscenes and the because Mortal Kombat 1, the story mode is essentially a movie with fighting in it.
It's a movie.
And it's not particularly long. I can't even remember, about 6 hours maybe. But like the animation is like ridiculous. And then when you get to the actual fighting, it's so gorgeous. Like the different movesets of every character. Like Garros, I never like playing as him, but the way he utilizes like sand to do his damage and manipulate like the environment is incredible. Like the moves themselves, whether they're using like Sub-Zero or Scorpion using fire and ice, or whether I fucking hell, can't even think of any fighters. What I'm trying to say is that different fighters all have gorgeous like moves that all kind of flow very well together. And then you've got the fatalities, which are just fucking stupid, but like they're all animated really well, and like it's so smooth and it's just gorgeous. And it's in mine, but I do understand, I feel like I'm just going to go, cool, delete.
That's great. Shadows of Mordor. Bye.
But no, I think it's phenomenal.
I think fighting games are getting into that same category as racing games now a little bit, where people don't appreciate how good they look and sound because I think there's an element of people thinking, yeah, but you've only got to render that bit. But I think that does a massive sort of disservice to the general art style or design of the characters, the animation, how reactive they feel. In any other year,
It still would get cut.
no, I don't think it would. But like, I can see 6 without really like really getting down and dirty with it. 6 that I'd have in my top 5. So. I don't know. I can't back you, if you know what I mean. And I've got a funny feeling I'm the only other one who's played it.
Oh, I've played it. Yeah, I've played a fair bit of Mortal Kombat.
Okay.
1, and it is beautiful. But I probably wouldn't put it in a top 5.
I will say, it doesn't like it's getting cut, but I will say before we do, it does this thing of when you play it, you think that's how they have looked. But even Mortal Kombat 9 and 10 and was it 11? Was there 11? Yeah. Even the last few, basically, even them, you think this is how they look. And I went back and played one, and it's like, it looks really good, but it also almost looked like it smeared Vaseline on it. It didn't look as good. Like, it does look.
I'll also say, like, I know this is a little thing, but the eyes, the way they are, a lot of games, the eyes are just shit. And like, they can animate whole scenes, but the eyes look so like,
Dead.
Dead. Where it just gets, and the little like smirks and the facial animations are like ridiculous.
I mean, that Johnny Cage stage early on, the movie scene stage is like unbelievable,
ridiculous.
But did we cut it yet? Realistically,
I do think it's. Look, we don't have to, but it's
if
not
it's one
making
that
a
would
top
make-
5. It's just not.
Maybe, yeah.
Do you know what?
If it's not making yours or mine,
like I've said, oh, it's in mine. I'm
Yeah,
looking
yeah.
at the rest of the list.
Do you know what I mean?
Is it?
I don't know if it is.
Fair.
If it's in no one's top 5, it can't be in the site's top 5.
This one, it's up to Chris if we cut it now or
No,
we come back.
it's a strong 6, if anything. I think.
I'll buy Mortal Kombat.
Oh,
Can we talk about Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora? Because at the time of recording, I've seen a trailer for it because I can't play it myself. And I looked at the trailer and was like, that's fucking beautiful. That looks great. But I don't actually know how it looks as a full game. And yeah, that's where I'm at with that one.
to be honest, in any other year, like
It's very Far Cry Ubisoft good looking. Those games, Ubisoft don't make very bad looking games now. Let's be honest about this.
And it's one of those games as well that kind of like, and it does call back to like the early Far Cry or any Far Cry game. You know, there's always that moment in a Far Cry game or any Ubisoft game now. Usually in an Assassin's Creed, it's when you first synchronize. In a Far Cry game, it's when you first come outside or you run onto a rooftop and whatever. You get that big vista moment. You get that big bit where you're supposed to
when the title comes up.
Yeah, exactly.
They also love a chase sequence in a Far Cry style game, don't they? At the start of a game.
Yeah, and that's very much what. So Avatar: Frontiers of Pandora. If they'd have called it Far Cry Pandora, I'd have been that's fine.
You know that early sequence that you're talking about. You know it's coming. You know because the game, because it's so dark and you're inside so much. You know at some point. Yeah, but I think they actually do that quite well. I don't think it is this kind of. It's not even like they do with Zelda, where the camera pans out. Like you just walk out and you're in that world, and you're like, "Oh, that's an interesting way of doing it."
It doesn't do that thing where it falsely blinds.
No.
I can't remember what game I'm trying to think of where you walk out the door, and the game deliberately blinds you, and it's like, I'm trying to think what it is that does it. But it doesn't do that. It doesn't do that whole you're blind now. Marvel and wonder at what we've been, but. That the transition of, like you said, you know it's coming. You're in a dark tunnel. You see daylight. You have to run towards daylight. That's the sequence you're in. You emerge into the jungle, and I just think like if that was, it looks like I hate to say it, it looks like a tech demo. Like that bit when you step outside into the jungles of Pandora for the first time. There's so much detail. Like and the game does not maintain that. Like it's not all the times. A lot of the time you're indoors. There's segments in corridors. The enemies that you're often against are quite similar. Do you know what I mean? I'm not going to.
It does sense of scale quite well because I'd forgotten in the movies. It's been a long time. I haven't seen the second one. It's been a long time since I'd seen the first one. I forgot how big the Na'vi were. Like they're like twice the height of humans, and it does the sense of space quite well. And when you do see a human,
I like that.
And you're like,
you forget they're big.
You're tiny. Like fucking, what are you arguing about, mate?
You feel bad like swatting the Marines away.
But at the same time, like that's a small touch, and that kind of had to. It would be weird. It would be really bad if they didn't get that right. But I do think again, it is a very, very pretty game. It's not going to make anyone's
There's moments of it
top
that are beautiful, but it maybe would be my number 6 probably on this list. So, and we're the only ones really that have played it. So yeah, we can cut it, but it did deserve a mention.
It meant, yeah, especially since it came so late in the bloody year. I think we should move on to Bayonetta Origins and discuss it because I feel though there's going to be some strong opinions on that.
I still haven't played it, so this is kind of your guys to decide whether it even belongs.
Okay.
Here.
See, I think that storybook style, that almost like crayon like art style of the game is like really gorgeous. I'm kind of having trouble figuring out where the hell on a list I would put it because but like that's because this year, man. But like I love how that game looks. Like to think that is a Switch exclusive for how it looks. It's one of those games where you're like, a game shouldn't be able to look that good on that hardware, really. And there's a few other games that you can say that about. There's 2 others that you can say that about on this list. But it is kind of wild how they've managed that. And yeah, I really, really liked it. I'm not sure how to feel about the idea of cutting that.
Because like in a couple of the other categories that I've probably come across as a bit of a cunt on this game a little bit and just been down on it. And for me, this is where I think it does what it does really well in the stylized nature of what it's all about. It is this fairy tale storybook piece. We mentioned the narrator in Best Audio. It's the visual style that they go for is almost what it's all about, and it kind of ties the whole game together. I think it definitely earns its place on the list of nominations. Is obviously why it should be here. I am struggling looking at the rest of the list going, does it make a 5 for this year? That's what I do genuinely struggle with that because I'm looking at some of the others going, Jesus. But because it's very, I love I do like the way it looks. It maintains it throughout. Some of the different landscapes, biomes, whatever you want to call them, and the different places you go to, they're full of like life and quirk and randomness. Some of it, and it's the visuals was the bit I liked the most about this game.
I think we keep it for now.
I think I'm with you. I think kind of like Chris talking about it then kind of made me go remember the bits because it was quite early in the year as well. But it made me remember the bits where I don't know
if it will last, but I can. It's.
I'm getting a bit worried because like every time I think, oh, well, let's cut this, like I'm like, no. So I want to propose 2 cuts. And I'm going to give the reason being that most of these awards are not our individual awards. They represent us as a team. And therefore, I feel like... Shit, no, actually 4 people have played that. Okay, I want to propose 1 cut because only 2 of us have played it. Dead Space.
I was going to ask...
Purely, not because I think it's bad looking, because it's not, but purely because I'm looking down this list and I'm going Bayonetta Origins, 3 of us have played it, Astral Ascent 4, Sea of Stars, all 5, Octopath, most of us, Cookie Cutter, 3 of us. Do you know what I mean? I'm going down this going, just pure numbers-wise, trying to find a way of getting... No, do you know what? I will throw a second cut out. I'll throw out Dead Space and Resident Evil 4 Remake. In any other year.
Yeah. In any other year.
I can't believe you added Sea of Stars to this and you want to cut Resident Evil 4 for
100%
visuals.
would keep Sea of Stars over Resi.
No, but you are, because you added Sea of Stars.
I'm saying I would 100% rather have Sea of Stars than Resident Evil 4.
Really?
100%. It's not even close for me.
Why?
Because Sea of Stars is absolutely stunning.
It has gorgeous animations. It has the stuff like the whole lighting thing when you get the power to change the time of day. How the dynamic shadows work. It's absolutely glorious. I think it's a ridiculously good looking game.
Yeah, Sea of Stars is in my top 5 without even trying it.
I'm going to have to not comment on Sea of Stars because I just don't get it. I just don't. And it sounds like I'm being an arsehole and kicking it, and I'm not. I just don't see what you guys...
I think it's incredibly original and unique. It's the art style, the
characters... The art style really unique. Art style unique. That 2D sprite JRPG art style is unique.
The way they do it,
that's a unique.
The way they do it, I 100%.
I'm not going to mention.
Whereas Dead Space and Resident Evil 4 are based upon original properties that they have remade, and both do it very well. But Sea of Stars does its own thing. It does.
I don't think it's incredible. I think it's an incredibly derivative game in almost every way.
And with due respect, you've made that clear. I don't think anyone else on this chat agrees with you. I don't think anyone else agrees with you at all. So
fair enough.
I respect what you're saying, but I think either you haven't seen.
Can I be tasty and open up the conversation while we're talking Sea of Stars? I think Sea of Stars is better visually than Astral Ascent.
Yes, I agree.
I will agree there. I don't think the visuals are the best thing about Astral Ascent. I think that's gameplay through and through.
So the reason I say that is because I'm trying to locate cuts. I'm saying, can we cut Astral Ascent?
Yes, I would say all three cuts.
I think so too. I think it's a great looking game, but everything on this fucking list is a great looking game. But I'm glad Astral Ascent is getting a bit of airtime.
100%. Yeah. I'm not belittling it. I'm just saying that I think we're looking down this list going, don't know what to cut. I think I would cut Astral Ascent. It's a nice looking game, but I think it doesn't make this list.
Yeah, no, it's not in my top 5.
So I'm cutting Astral Ascent. Yes.
Do you know what? Cut Dead Space.
So I'm cutting Dead Space and Astral Ascent.
It's not in my top 5. It's fantastic looking
on this list.
But I would keep Resi 4.
The thing I found, I can't speak for everyone, but I don't know about you, Mr. White. Speaking of Dead Space, is like it looks amazing, but I found myself now more than ever going towards a game that isn't just like, because otherwise, where's Call of Duty on this list? It doesn't. Oh, it's super realistic. It looks amazing. I feel like we're beyond the talking about that now, and I don't mean that in a down way. I
No,
find games like Bayonetta, Sea of Stars, Octopath, Cookie Cutter, I find those more interesting, and Super Mario Brothers Wonder, obviously.
I didn't put COD, for example, on Best Audio as well in that sense, because I'm looking for things that are doing things differently. It's not that it's just cars in it, but it is kind of, it's just guns in it. And it is that type of thing.
Hang on, we're getting a little off topic. Am I deleting Dead Space and Astral Ascent?
I was just agreeing with your point, but all right.
Yeah, I know, but I shouldn't have made it. I should have just fucking cut it. And
we're deleting both those. Yes, we are.
Resident Evil 4, I propose. We didn't.
I don't want to.
No, I don't think I want to yet either.
That list. It's in your top 5 of that list. A game that they had the existing assets to crib from. It is in your list of those 10 games.
I think
you could say that about Zelda, though, couldn't you? They had the existing assets to crib from.
I do think The Legend of Zelda Tears of the Kingdom doesn't make this list.
I agree.
So I'm saying for me, that's because it's.
I think you're maybe forgetting the depths and the stuff in the sky a little bit. They did a lot more than just set it in the same world.
Getting that Resi 4's completely remade,
but it's totally recognisable as well. It's faithfully remade.
It'd be weird if it wasn't.
No, I know, but what I'm saying is that I always feel better. We do a best remaster category. It won that. I'm not saying that means it's shit looking. I'm saying there's 10 games on this list that are more original.
No, I get it. I think
9. There's 10 currently on this list. I think some of us are probably more precious with the order of the cuts, where George's going, fuck it, Marvel Spider-Man 2. No, I'm not. I'm saying that this is a list that has to be 5.
Right. Does anyone think
Adam said about
Tears of the Kingdom?
But what Adam said about Spider-Man, I kind of think if you cut in Resident Evil, then you probably could apply that same logic to Tears to an extent. Spider-Man more so, I think, in terms of it does look very much like Marvel Spider-Man.
Which is great because it looks amazing. It is amazing.
It's fantastic. But it does. It's New York. It's the same.
The counter argument to all of this is that's fine. We can keep all 3 of them, but then we've got to cut everything bar 2 to get a top 5.
Has anyone said to keep Tears of the Kingdom?
I don't think anyone. Tears of the Kingdom looks gorgeous. It has some technical issues, not as many as the original did. The previous game, I should say. I think the sky stuff's amazing. I love that. I think the Zonai stuff's amazing. I think the depth stuff is really interesting. I know visually perhaps not arresting like you would want, but it's the depths. What do you want? I think the ending of that game is spectacular, and we've never seen Zelda do anything like that. And I think it's one of the best games of this year.
Yeah,
but we're not. We're not discussing that. Yeah,
it's going to get mentioned again.
So I'm absolutely got no issue whatsoever with that being cut at this stage.
I agree.
Chris?
No, I agree completely.
I know Lyle's got no issue with it. Mick's no problem?
No.
Fair enough. We still have not cut Resident Evil 4. It's still there, and that's one I proposed. So,
okay,
listen, if it's in everyone else's top 5 out of those 9, I want to say 9, then cool. But I just don't think it is.
Let me have a count up.
It's 9. It's 9, but I just don't think
it is.
I
think it's still in my 5.
I think it's
in my 5. For now.
It's close, I'll say.
That floors me, if I'm honest with you, because I think Alan Wake 2 is one of the best looking video games ever made. I'll say that
my
right
top
now.
5 is
that's in mine as well.
No, I was going to say that.
That's roughly where I am.
So I can only speak personally. So in my opinion, Alan Wake 2 is one of the best games visually I've ever seen. Super Mario Bros. Wonder, if we're not locking that, then why are we even here? Final Fantasy 16, I'm not even sure that's my top 5, but it's better looking than Marvel Spider-Man, so let's just say that would be. Resident Evil 4 Remake, I've made my feelings clear. Octopath Traveler 2 is just unbelievably beautiful. Sea of Stars, I literally have the key artwork for Sea of Stars as my desktop backdrop. I haven't changed that in 6 years. It's now my desktop backdrop. Bayonetta Origins is the most beautiful, painterly, visual sort of style I've ever seen. I'm not saying I think Resi 4 and Marvel Spider-Man are shit looking. Not at all. But I can only say what I could feel, and I've just listed every other game that I think is a better visual game.
I think that's where we need to go through it now. Is the comparisons to the games, and I do think Marvel Spider-Man 2. I don't think makes my top 5 looking at this. And
If
that
I
blows
put-
my
if-
mind that I've said that, but now I've actually counted the games up. I'm like, actually,
I wasn't trying to be a bastard about Resi
No,
4 and
but I
Marvels.
think,
I was
to be
trying to say,
honest-
look at the names on this list.
Yeah.
If you took
no.
the 3 big action games on there, right, which is arguably Resident Evil 4, Final Fantasy 16, Marvel Spider-Man 2, of those 3
Final
big
Fantasy
action
16
games, big
is the best
spectacle, Final Fantasy
looking.
16, I kind of knocked spots off the other 2, I think.
Yeah,
I
visually,
do think
that's-
Spider-Man is good. I think it does spectacle very well, but it's Spider-Man, which is kind of like Forza and doing cars right well. I just think that I don't know. I Final Fantasy 16 has to stay for now. I think. I just think that those
Christ,
big,
if we're talking about best
scale
visuals and Final
fights,
Fantasy 16 isn't in a discussion, we've done something wrong. Whether you like the game or not, it's irrelevant. at
Yeah,
this
no,
point.
exactly that.
Like that
yeah.
game has some of the most visually spectacular moments.
Yeah, that's just it. It has those moments where you literally gasp and are like,
What are we at?
the fuck
9?
they do?
We're at 9.
I think.
but
right,
I haven't
I
played
think,
Bayonetta, so
I think we
so
need
I
to
can't
cut-
argue for that or
I
against
think we need to
it. So I
cut
won't.
Bayonetta and Spider-Man 2 as the next 2 cuts.
But
Bayonetta.
Bayonetta's you
Yes,
talked
and
about
Marvel
Bayonetta
Spider-Man
as
2.
being very.
So why is
like,
Resident Evil 4
unique
still on it?
and-
Because no one has yet said it should stay because it's in my top 5. You keep ignoring the
quite
fact that
a
I've
few
cut
people said it
the
was
It's
rest.
in my
top
top 5, but
Yeah,
that doesn't.
Of
but-
this
I'll
list.
admit.
Of this list.
Yeah.
Okay, fair enough. So you want to cut Chris? Are you okay with Spider-Man
I-
2? Sorry, Chris
No.
White.
No. Thought I'd made headway.
I'm happy to cut. The thing is, I've not played Cookie Cutter, so I don't have an opinion on that,
I
or
also need to
Bayonetta.
ask that.
But what I will say is Resident Evil 4 doesn't make my top 5 on this list. So if that needs cutting,
I need
I'm
to
happy
write
to
down
quit.
my top 5 because I haven't
think
done
Marvel.
that yet.
I think we're going to end up cutting Marvel Spider-Man as well. And again, that's fine, but it's in my list hands down. It's not just more Spider-Man. I think it does a lot of things differently. A lot of like the side stuff, like the Mysterio levels. There's that scene where you're going through this Doctor Strange portals. Like that animated, the way that's animated is fucking ridiculous for this current gen, and it does a lot of those moments. And the transitioning of like fast travel, it's just so good. It just looks so good, and there are a lot of new areas like Coney Island. That scene where you're going around the fairground is just fantastic. It has a lot of good moments put together and brought together really well. The whole symbiote stuff, when that kind of kicks in about 60-70% through the game, changes New York, and the suits, the way they're animated, the way they look, the buildings, it's just fantastic. But I get that it's not on everyone's list. So if we've got a cut, Resi 4, Marvel's Spider-Man, because it's not going to last.
I agree.
And I do think enough people are saying that Resident Evil wouldn't be on their list. That
I think it's only on mine. So if it's a cut, that's I mean,
it
where on yours though?
I
Like,
think
are
it's
we-
on mine and
25.
it's fifth. Yeah.
And I'm kind of torn between that and one other, to be honest. Because
well, right. Someone say something we should cut then. If we're not,
Cookie Cutter.
I think you're probably right.
yeah, see, that's the one that would be on 5 if Resi wasn't on my list.
I think
because
Cookie
I
Cutter
do
is-
think
is-
Cookie
is
Cutter does some good stuff.
it's a beautiful hand drawn game. I think it's
Yeah.
really beautiful. But what I would say,
Had so much personality
Back
in
to
that
it, yeah.
game. You know, and even it's got like, it's really crass and it's really gory, but it's not just crass and gory. Like it's, you know what I mean? It's also really funny. I
it's
think
got a
the main
lot of
character
attitude. I like the
is
attitude and the
somehow
visuals.
charming in despite being like really like full of attitude. She's like a pissed off cyborg, you know, and but I think it's yeah.
I think it's quite an achievement, if I'm honest with you. When
I
it
think
comes
it's an
to
amazing
the hand-drawn
achievement, and I
style.
think
I
it's
think it's the
probably
best
right
looking
in-
Metroidvania I've played this year for sure.
Yeah, I
I'd
think
say.
that it's probably not going to make the top 5. In any other year, it might sneak a 5th. But I because of the achievement and the visual style, the execution. But I've just done my top 5, and I've played Cookie Cutter. It's literally the game I've played the most recently, and I love it. And it was number 6 on my list. And so I think it has to go, but it's a fucking amazing achievement. And the guys that haven't played that game, because it's come quite late, play it.
It's worth.
It's
playing,
my
yeah.
number 7 for what it's worth on this list.
Yeah, it's
It
my
would
number
see.
6.
I've got my 6 on that list are.
I wouldn't give us the 6 yet.
No,
Just don't show
okay,
your
but
hand.
if I was not putting Cookie.
But if Cookie Cutter is Mick, if it's your 7, Adam's 7, and my 6, it goes.
It's my 6, but I get what you.
Yeah, the point is it's in no one's top 5.
Okay, fine.
No,
fine.
it's
It's gone.
gone.
It's gone. Cookie Cutter. Great gameplay. 3 more need
I
to go.
really,
Is Spider-Man
I don't-
not going?
I think Spider-Man does a really good job of everything it does visually. Like it,
I just got the impression everyone.
I would
was
keep
trying to-
Spider-Man over Resi 4. I think if it came down and we said,
I
let's vote on
would
those,
agree with that, but I do think they
I would-
both need to go. But
I would
we'll
chop
get there
Resi
when we
4,
get there.
but I would because I think Octopath Traveler has to stay. Like, do you know what I mean? That it's just.
I agree.
Yeah.
I think Octopath, Mario, and Alan Wake are locks. To be honest,
I agree.
I would say FF16 is, but that's too many locks.
I agree with that as well.
I don't think it is too many looks. That sounds like 4 out of 5.
You've got 4 of my 5 right there, Mick.
Got 4 of my
and
5.
you know what the 5th
we
one
won't
is.
agree on the 5th, but whatever.
Yeah, but I haven't got of the 5th. If it's not Spider-Man, it could be Sea of Stars because I haven't played Bayonetta, so it's not going to be Resi. So I'm cool with that. If you guys are, I don't feel comfortable cutting Spider-Man straight away, but Resi 4.
We've not
this
cut
is
it
the
straight away. I
direction we've
suggested
gone
that
in.
about 40 minutes ago.
You
So it's
did.
not straight away. Don't worry.
Is-
Spider-Man's
is-
hanging
right.
in there by a web.
Okay, just to
Clever.
make progress.
Oh, fine.
Bayonetta Origins, is it in your 2's top 5? Alan,
It's my 6.
Alan,
It's
Lyle,
my
and
6.
Adam. Alan,
It's my 6.
Alan. What's that?
It's my 6.
Lyle.
It's in mine, but again, it's not like 1, 2, 3. I think it's 4, in fact. So
It's not in
Thing
my
is,
top
it-
5. It's like 7.
It's like my 5 or 6 interchangeably so on any given day, I would say.
Yeah.
So I mean, Bayonetta's gone then, isn't it?
But it's lovely, and I spoke passionate about it earlier. I think it does what it does really fucking well.
I think not
it's
only is it lovely, it's incredibly original and unique, and there's
Yeah.
nothing else like it.
So why is it a cut then? Why?
Because
just
no one will let me cut Resi and Marvel.
I just said I think I
It's
said.
not up to you or me. It's up to a group, isn't it?
I'll
to be
cut
fair,
both of those.
I said
Also
Resi as
Bayonetta.
well.
I think you can cut Resi.
But
at
I
this
thought
point.
you wanted Resi, Mick.
I do, but you all don't. Do you know what I mean? So, like, you really are. I'm not as passionate about Resi as you are about Bayonetta. Let's be honest. If we're cutting
I
one
think
of those
Resident
two
Evil
now,
4 Remake is a brilliant looking game.
It
I think
is.
they had a lot of source material to work with. I think they made it look brilliant. I think they did right by that game. I think they changed stuff in the correct way. But it's just not in my 6, let alone 7.
At some point, you'll all realise we're cutting Bayonetta, Resi, and Marvel Spider-Man, and we can start ranking. At some point, you'll all realise that.
I
Just see how long
offered to
it takes.
cut Resi and Marvel ages ago, so it's
I know.
not
I'm
me.
just saying. I feel like sometimes you argue
but
with
I think
you. I'm saying the
it's one
same.
of the best looking games. I do think that. I think it's one of the best looking games this year.
Which?
I don't think
Definitely the top 8.
Spider-Man. Yes, definitely the top 8. Yeah. Take Resi off. I think if no one else is arguing about it,
Resi's gone.
Get rid of it. Yeah.
Yeah, get rid of Resi. It's great, but I mean, it's got its due. But look how much we're having to fight for these last few games, you know?
Yeah.
From the sound of it, Bayonetta's gone.
I think Spider-Man 2 and Bayonetta have gone
I agree.
from what everyone said. But
Well,
I agree with that.
I don't think Spider-Man should go. I think Sea of Stars should go.
I don't think Spider-Man should go over Sea of Stars.
But then you three don't agree, so it's gone, isn't it?
Yeah.
so
If
well,
we
hang on.
vote-
No, I think what it does mean is Bayonetta's going, and then we've got to talk between those two, haven't we?
Okay.
I can live with that.
Well, again,
Yeah.
we're in a position now where if we vote, Spider-Man goes.
This is why we have an
It's
odd
been
number
3
of
versus 2.
podcasters.
It's been 3 versus 2. Like on the last one, and I don't mind. I'm not saying Sea of Stars is not a good looking game. I'm saying I don't think it's one of the best visually this year. That's my opinion is all.
And I'm
not
telling you, that it's
knocking this
literally my
game.
desktop wallpaper. That's how much I
I
love
get
the
it. That's
visuals.
again, it's opinion stuff. I'm not saying anyone's
Well, that's-
wrong. I just don't agree with that ranking. I don't
Yeah,
think
Have a
it's
different
one of those things where it
opinion
shows
from Alan.
passion, doesn't it?
I can't help it. It's not my sort of visual. It's not something that is appealing to me. It's not. I'm not.
But Mick,
telling
no
you
one's
it's bad.
challenging you or saying you're wrong for it. You're saying you're wrong for it. We've all accepted what you feel about it, but
Yeah.
it can't change the way we feel about it.
Well, no.
Like,
But
no
I'm
one's,
saying,
no
in
one's
that
saying
case,
you're
if
wrong.
It's a vote, then Spider-Man will go because it's 3 versus 2. And this is not that's fine. That's how it
And
works.
if I was voting for something, I think Spider-Man would be my cut.
I mean, no one's going to cut anything off that list but Spider-Man, right? No one's cutting Alan Wake's. The only thing that anyone would cut would be Sea of Stars or Spider-Man, and that means it becomes a vote and it goes 3-2, and Spider-Man.
That means
that's just
means
logic.
that Spider-Man's cut and Sea of Stars is 5, doesn't it?
Well,
Yeah,
that is up for debate, but Spider-Man, I think, is not going to make the cut because even if we vote, it's going.
But if we vote and 2 people have said they want to get rid of it, I think the rules of previous
Sea of
days
Stars
meant
would be
that means
fifth.
that you
if
guys
it
would
makes
have cut
at
it,
all.
therefore it can only get to 5th.
Yeah, and that's
Yeah,
fine.
that's basically maths.
It is, and it's my speciality, as we know.
I know. We
We're
can
not
do
being
it. We can
undone.
do a vote. If you want to do
don't
it.
think
I
it's
think we should do a
Yeah.
vote just because I want to say Spider-Man.
My vote to cut is Spider-Man 2. No, hang on. No, I can't. I was going to say Final
have
Fantasy 16, but I can't be bothered. Final Fantasy has to stay.
Yeah.
Or does it?
Sea of Stars.
Yeah, okay. Mick, your votes to
Yeah,
cut.
Sea of Stars. Yeah.
Lyle,
Spider-Man 2.
Chris Hyde.
Spider-Man 2.
So Sea
Before
of
I
Stars
vote,
is 5th, yeah?
before I vote, just to gauge the temperature of the room, given there is a lot of love for Spider-Man 2, what would the feeling be if I were to suggest that the game we actually cut was
No.
Final Fantasy 16?
Nope.
No.
No, not even close.
Okay,
No.
because I think the set piece moments are incredible, but there are also just a lot of generic forests and areas in that game that could just be from any other game. The set pieces are best moments. They're in
That's
that
what
category.
I agree. That's where I.
But there are a
100% agree with
lot
you.
of sections in
I
Final
don't
Fantasy
remember
16
very much.
that are.
Yeah, I don't remember much about Final Fantasy 16 except those big clashes. Those big
They are
set-piece
amazing,
moments.
and every one of them is amazing. But there's
And
like
they
I
do
can
things
remember
I've
a
not
dungeon.
seen
Yeah,
done.
I
Do
can,
you know what
I
mean?
can
It's on
remember
such a
an area with a
scale.
dungeon and fire stuff that's a bit generic. There's a lot of forestry. In fact, there's so much forestry. There's areas you can miss. They are all quite small because they have made this a different kind of Final Fantasy. It is not the open world people thought it would be. It is a more Devil May Cry this level, and you explore this level. I think the best moments, and there are, I don't want to scroll down, but there's quite a few of them in best moment for Final Fantasy 16. Those visually are outrageous, incredible. On a consistent level, is there an argument to be made that Spider-Man 2 has actually brought consistently a better visual?
Well, they've had a chance to do
100%.
New York 2 other times, haven't they?
I think
I agree.
I would say, me personally, I think the highs, and there are, let's be clear, a lot of those highs that you're talking about in Final Fantasy 16, I think they far outweigh the perhaps slightly higher consistency of Spider-Man 2. For me, it's not close.
Are you
And I think
remembering
it's
like the
important
lizard
that it has
fights,
those
the
highs.
Venom stuff? Are you remembering these moments because they are?
Yeah, I've played it more recently than Final Fantasy
Okay.
16.
Okay.
And
I'm
not,
just
again,
putting it out
I'm-
there that
No,
to try and keep
100%,
people happy
and I'm
because I
saying-
think there are quite a lot of peaks and troughs in 16. The peaks are very, very incredible looking, but the troughs are like they're not great. There
I'm
are some
not
bits that
100%
aren't great.
sure if we were voting that I would keep.
Well, then I really wish I'd said nothing now.
I really don't know if
But
I
it's
would
just-
because again though, I've played a lot of Final Fantasy 16 recently. I played Spider-Man recently, so they're both really fresh in terms of visuals. Spider-Man is more consistent, I think.
I do
And
think
there's a
that's
lot of
true, but I
stuff
think
in-
16's highs are higher.
It does reach higher peaks. Oh, I don't know.
And for me, that's more important because and some of what it does is fucking
Yeah,
incredible.
I
Do we
like.
vote again for this?
We've said
Do we
and
vote
it will come
again
up
for-
later that how do they do what they do in that game 2 or 3 times?
Which
and there are
game,
some
sorry?
of the highs that are middle highs are still fucking incredible.
Which game are we talking about?
Final
Final
Fantasy.
Fantasy 16.
I think Spider-Man's got some of them as well, and Chris White mentioned them, like the Doctor Strange stuff, the mysterious stuff. I think the lizard fight is unbelievable. I think that there are.
The Venom
Yeah.
stuff.
I think that there is a
I
I
little
don't
bit
think
of
it's
people
anywhere
just
near
expect
visually
it.
as enticing as that. I genuinely don't. I'm sitting here going, really that bit? Like I don't. Okay,
But
yeah,
those
like, I'm
bits
not-
that you're talking about in 16 take place within like square skyboxes, so to speak, whereas
Yeah.
Spider-Man's one happened in the world you've already been existing in, which is arguably
Yeah.
technically a harder thing to do.
Yeah.
If that matters, I don't know if it does. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it doesn't to me, and I'd definitely say Final Fantasy 16 out of those two, and it would be, it would be above a few of the other games.
We stick with the vote then, and I have to vote. So I'll vote to cut Marvel Spider-Man then over, because I'm not cutting Sea of Stars. So, so Spider-Man's gone.
And then if you want to lock in 5 and 4, that's kind of done, right?
So what's
Well,
5? Sea of Stars. And what's 4 then? You saying Final Fantasy 16?
No, I don't think. I think Alan Wake 2 goes above Octopath.
we're not doing 1, 2, or 3.
Oh yeah,
yet,
no,
Nick.
just locking in. The
No, I
bottom.
haven't got that far.
Sorry, I misunderstood.
I'm just at bottom 2 at the moment. Is that what you're saying, Lyle? Final Fantasy 16 Sea of Stars.
I think given
I mean,
the
it sounds
question
like the
marks,
temperature.
I don't think Final Fantasy 16 can go higher from this group. I'm not saying what I think, but I think from this group, I think that's what we're saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think.
If there's that
think
question
so.
mark over people's heads, say about consistency, I think
We haven't
challenge.
discussed Octopath Traveler 2
I
a
think
lot in the visuals. It's absolutely like, because I remember when I played this at the beginning of the year. I think when it came out, was it the beginning of this year? It was an early game, wasn't
Yeah, it
it?
was very
It was
early.
earlier, yeah.
February, I think.
And I can remember expecting to be like, because I played Octopath Traveler, and I didn't get all the way through the first one. I liked it, but it didn't do enough to keep me interested. Octopath Traveler 2, I wasn't expecting a game like a little 2D. It's like essentially like a JRPG. It's like I said about Sea of Stars. They do stuff with lighting in that game. That like when you're in the city,
Lighting is.
they do things with that game that I'm like, this. Like I was absolutely just blown away with the environments more than anything else, more so than the animations and things, which are still, they're good. But the environments in that game,
Even like you mentioned, obviously the night to day thing. The night to day thing, just the simple press of that button, just the stuff, the way it moves, the lighting in that. It's so
I was talking
sexy.
about Octopath actually.
No, sorry, that's what I mean. I'm saying in Octopath, when you can change it to night
Oh,
and day.
sorry, I
because
thought you were
two
talking
different
about Sea of
things.
Stars.
Yeah, both games have it. So.
Yeah.
Both games have it, but it's so good the way that lighting works. It's happening quite quickly, but it's so nice. And like you say, like when they have like torches in sconces or sunsets and stuff, it's just
the way they render like the cities and things in that game. And like, I don't know,
and the water effects and stuff.
I'll just say this: it's not my list, but that right there, if you're watching the video version, I think that's the list.
It's not for me at all.
I think Alan Wake is one.
No, I said it's not my list.
Alan Wake's two.
I don't think Super Mario Brothers Wonder is one, and I do think that's a beautiful game. And I do think I spoke to you about it when I was playing it. Little tiny visual flourishes that they put in there that they don't have to, which is kind of quintessentially Mario, but still they do these little wonderful things, like when you're crawling in the pipe and your little legs are wriggling. And
I think that's not quintessentially Mario. I think that's something they've never done before.
It's quintessentially Nintendo. The shit that they didn't have to do, they put in. Even like the audio stuff that we spoke about before, like none of that needs to be in Mario Wonder, not really, but all of it is, and it culminates in literally the perfect name of the game, right? Which is that wonderful, joyful element of playing the game, and it is lovely, and like and the way the levels visually transform every time you get a seed, and how that changes how they play. It is lovely.
The idea, the inventiveness, the mechanics.
Yeah.
I just think Alan Wake 2 is just spectacular to look at. Like
I think
and
they
it's
both
not
are.
just.
Though. I think you could be describing both of them.
Well,
You
and
don't,
again,
Wonder is spectacular. I think.
Again, it's so different. Like they're so different. Like, you
couldn't be more different.
Yeah.
Couldn't. Yeah.
But I do. I mean, and again, this is a personal thing. In terms
So are we?
of
Hang on. Are we arguing for the top 2 and the bottom 3 are locks now? Then
I think Octopath
be my
goes.
number 3 either.
I think Super Mario is for me is 3, and then it's
I'm the
Octopath
same
and
as
Alan
Mick.
Wake. That's my 5.
I agree with Mick.
Yeah.
Sorry, what are you?
So
you're saying 1, 2, 3?
I'll do
think
the list.
Alan Wake is first, I think Octopath is 2, and I think Mario is 3.
Yeah.
Final Fantasy 4, Marvel Spider-Man 5th.
Well played.
That I think that. I mean, if it was if it was for me, I would probably put 16 FF16 higher now. But
No. I mean,
Again,
that's my
I mean,
number
I'm,
one.
again, with
I'm
Mick,
That's my number
I
one.
also
I'm not
just-
having that at 4th. That's ridiculous.
yeah,
I
but
mean, that
I'm
is the most
comfortable.
beautiful looking. That is a game that it's not just the audio, but the visuals. Every single level you play, you just go, wow. And that's not just the audio. That's how it looks and everything. That's the visuals. I'm quite surprised, if I'm honest with you, because I think that game. I'm not saying it's like my favorite game of the year, but like in terms of visuals, Mario Brothers Wonder is like.
I think for me, Wonder is in the top 2, and we can talk about that between that and Alan Wake. I just feel like because as much as I love Octopath
I don't think we
Traveler-
can, mate, because I think that all 3 of the other people that aren't you and me have said that that's the list.
Yeah, no, that's no, but we need to talk about Alan Wake, is what I'm saying. But like, because there's stuff I want to say. But like, for me, Octopath Traveler 2 is gorgeous, but I look at Mario Brothers Wonder as kind of visually how I found that in terms of it feeling different compared to Octopath Traveler, where I was like, I have seen this before, and it was gorgeous before, and we're going a little bit down the Zelda route here, a little bit in terms of Tears of the Kingdom. Like, I do think they're better, of course they are, but
Octopath is a step up from the first game, but it's
yeah,
not
no,
that
it
much
is.
of a
This
step
is
up,
why it's not
for
cut
me.
at the same time as Tears of the Kingdom and stuff like that. I'm
And
saying,
Mario
I'm
Wonder, they
articulate
could
why
have
I
been
think
lazy.
Wonder-
They could have been
What's that?
lazy. Mario Wonder, they could have just gone new suit route and done
Yeah,
a game
exactly.
called Wonder.
Like, I
They
feel
went for a
like-
whole new art style, and they fucking nailed every second of it.
Yeah,
Octopath
so-
Traveler 2 is beautiful, but it's a step up from the previous game, but it's not like a revolution for me. It's
Yeah, exactly. And I think that would be what edges it to 3rd for me. And then, yeah, I guess we would in our list it would mean that it was 2 and Alan Wake was 1 and Octopath was 3rd for me.
I do this all the time, but when I listen to like you guys talk and you get quite passionate about things, and the only one that I'm really passionate I wanted to be number 1 was Alan Wake 2, because I think that like every other game that even a lot of the games we've cut, it was a top. You know, we had 25 games when we started this this shop down. So, but the way you guys talk about, I mean, Chris, if you're not one of the people who say that Octopath Traveler should be at number 2 when it's it's clearly one of your favorite games, like it's one of the games that you've spoken about a lot through the year. I don't know whether that is the list. I don't know whether we do swap 2 and 3.
I mean, they're
Because
both
I can't
phenomenal
argue against
looking
exactly,
games,
and I
let's be
can't
really
argue against
clear.
Super Mario Brothers Wonder either, because it is absolutely wonderful.
I mean, to be very clear, I'm playing like tactical chess a lot of this, because for me, Octopath Traveler is number 5 on this list. That's not happening. But the
Yeah,
fact that
but
Super
for me-
Mario Bros. Wonder is below it is really odd to me, because let's say they took a risk. Not only did they take a risk when they didn't need to, like we are approaching the end of the Switch's life cycle, whether you want to admit it or not. We are. Something's going to happen there sooner rather than later. They took a risk with their biggest franchise, and there's no debate about that. Sorry. Sales-wise, maybe not, but in terms of their biggest franchises, it's the Mario games, and they completely changed the art style. Octopath Traveler 2 is beautiful, but it is very similar to the first game. It is, and it almost felt to me like that they
play
didn't.
a lot of the first game. I didn't have
No, because that was a
same-
Switch exclusive originally, wasn't it? Whereas with Octopath Traveler 2, it launched on other platforms a lot.
Yeah.
And so it got to a wider audience. So a lot of people are seeing Octopath Traveler 2 as a new series, a new game. I know that's not the case for Lyle, for example. You'll know he would have been around. But like, I would also say Octopath Traveler 2 looks beautiful. Like Triangle Strategy looks beautiful. Very similar. I haven't played Star Ocean, the remake we've talked about before, but Square Enix have got a 2D HD style, and I love it. But Mario Bros. Wonder, for me, like I say, they took a risk. The art style's completely different. All the affectations they added to it, didn't have to. None of it. Still would have been a good game. Wouldn't affect whether that game is good or not in any way. Whether he pulls his hat through, whether Luigi carries a shell between his legs when he's got his hat, the big inflatable hat. None of that would affect if that game's good at all. None of it.
For me, so much of what you're saying are those good visual moments, those great visual like moments in Mario Wonder, though, are like more just sort of like the overall charm of the game. I don't really almost associate them with how it looks visually. I don't know. Like for me as well, like saying Octopath Traveler 2 is another one of those, HD 2D games that Square Enix.
Oh
made.
no, it's the best looking one they've done.
It's the best one,
Yeah,
and I
no, it
think
is.
all the others are quite a lot lower down on that list realistically.
I don't think Octopath 1 and 2 are that far apart. I think they are. Like I say, I do think it's an upgrade. To be completely clear, it is a better looking game. I don't think it's the drastic change from, let's say, New Soup to Wonder.
Yeah, let's not pretend when we first saw Octopath Traveler, we weren't all blown away. Well, I was. Well, people that like that game, Mick might not have bothered, but like I was blown away by it, right?
No, I liked it. I just fell off the first one. That was all.
Because it was something you were like, wow, that's gorgeous.
But at the same time, when I played
and then execution, and as much as I adore that, and it's upgraded, it looks better. It doesn't have that same
Wonder
impact, and that's what I'm. Whereas I'm playing Super Mario Brothers Wonder, and I have been blown away by what I'm seeing. Like, do you know what I mean? And that's and we're talking we're splitting hairs between two excellent looking games visually.
Oh, for sure.
And
so we have to vote.
Yeah.
We know what's won it.
So.
Alan Wake 2 is the winner. We know what's fourth. We know what's fifth. I vote Mario Bros. Wonder is number 2. Chris Hyde.
Yeah, same.
Lyle.
Octopath Traveler 2.
Chris White.
Octopath Traveler 2.
It's Mick again. I won't do this every episode.
Mario.
Oh, well, there you go. No, I will then.
We influenced you.
Yeah,
excellent.
I'm so happy because I think that's number 1.
You did, but also there's not much between it.
I mean, like I said, I would want a conversation, but no one else seems to. I didn't know you were thinking that, but yeah, I agree. I was worried how far down it was going. I was like, what's happening?
No. If I was scoring the visuals on those three, if I was scoring the visuals on the top 3, they'd all be the same score. So it's like, I just think Alan Wake
has to get another C-star stick in there, doesn't he?
I didn't
am I locking this? Am I locking this?
Yeah, can we talk about Alan Wake a little bit though?
We do
just want to
yeah.
know about
I mean,
it.
I did say it was one of the best looking games I've ever seen.
Yeah, and no one else has had a chance to say anything.
Okay,
but I agree.
I do agree.
So.
I think the one thing that I haven't talked about on the pod that I do want to bring up here that Lyle will have played a few of these games, so would know what I'm talking about.
I know where you're going.
Games that include FMV, right, normally look shit, right, and don't execute it well, and therefore visually it just breaks the immersion. It looks camp or whatever, overacted. It's bullshit. And we touched about it a little bit on the audio bit because you talked about like the chat show bit, for example. That. It's brilliant acting. It's absolutely brilliant acting, and it's captured so well in the visuals of like how they're moving and stuff. And I wanted to draw attention to it because sometimes it's really good like direction, but that's quality acting. And FMVs normally it's a massive red flag for me because it's always like it's never quite. It's like it's like watching a film. It's not. It's like watching a really shit film. Whereas actually, this is watching an excellent film, and I just wanted to call that out because it's fucking outstanding. The stuff that is like that in this game is executed to perfection. It's brilliant. And
I think Remedy have been doing this, and they've got better at it with every game. Like they did it. You remember? No one remembers. I can't remember what it was called. The Quantum Break. I mean, a good percentage of that game was FMV, and they had some fantastic. The late great Lance Reddick was one of the characters in that, which is arguably the same character as appears in Mr. Door in
there's a story knocking around that he was intended.
Yeah, and I don't know how true that is.
I would think it's true because they like to use the same actors. Across their games.
And obviously, Sam Lake has this universe that he's built for quite a while, and even going back to the first 2 Max Payne games, there's elements that connect. And I think that Remedy have been doing this live because didn't they do a certain amount of live action FMV in Alan Wake? Not Alan Wake, in Max Payne.
Well, Quantum Break had a full TV show.
Yeah, Quantum Break did.
Alan Wake had a Twin Peaks thing. Nightfalls, it was
Control.
called.
yeah, it did.
Control fizzed in and out of real world occasionally with some of the, but yeah,
Well, they had the acting with the professor.
that's right.
yeah.
Yeah. So yeah,
There was lots of that
I think
stuff.
Remedy do that better than anybody.
Yeah.
So also in the gamey bits, like the way the worlds are the transparency of the worlds
100%.
over the actual.
You
Like
know what's really clever as well? Sorry, you were saying about the world of transparent. No, but no, you know, like when you do the typewriter bit and you change the world in Alan Wake too.
Yeah.
But it changes in such subtle ways sometimes. Like I have to look around for the things
You mean the
that
clicker?
have changed. It's not.
The light bulb
When
clicker, right?
yeah, well, I think that.
I think they're
that's
changing the scene. Okay, carry on.
Yeah, well, even that as well.
Oh,
But it's
that,
not always
no,
like
yeah.
bang, everything's different. A lot of it's really subtle and really clever. Sorry, Chris, I trod on.
No,
you,
that's fine, mate. But yeah, like so, there's those bits where you're just wandering around, and then you see like another world, like over the top of
The
where you're
merging
walking.
effect is
Yeah,
so
yeah.
clever. Like,
Exactly. And like the memories as well. When you line up the thing and you see you see Max Payne basically talking, Alex Casey, the way that kind of plays into it, and like the on a base level, it looks amazing. When you put all these layers on top of it, like the FMV and like the transparency of the worlds and the way that you can easily switch between them, it's just phenomenal from start to finish. So it deserves to be one for me.
Yeah, I agree.
In fifth place, then, for best visuals, Sea of Stars. In fourth place, Final Fantasy 16. In third place, Octopath Traveler 2. Second place, Super Mario Bros. Wonder. And the best visual-looking game of 2023 is Alan Wake 2. Which brings us to the end of day 2. Day 3 will be next, and that will be best multiplayer and best new character. So there's that to look forward to tomorrow if you're listening to these as they drop. Thank you to everyone for being here. Chris, Lyle and Mick, obviously. And yeah, I would normally say we'll speak to you next time, but that'll be tomorrow. So we'll see you then for day 2. Ta-ra for now.
Bye.